just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. We have an absolutely huge announcement. That is right. Thursday, the 16th of November, that is next Thursday, not this Thursday coming, the Thursday after, it is 50% off everything in the Bloke shop. 50% off everything at www.bloke.shop. And not just the current stuff. So we've got jerseys there still, only a small amount, but we've got jerseys there, a small amount of DMP shirts there. We've got cooler bags, we've got thongs, we've got a bunch of stuff. We're also putting on new Bloke designs, shirts, singlets, and jumpers, and they're going to be 50% off as well. So everything, 50% off everything. The 16th of November, that's next Thursday at 6 p.m. We've only ever done this once before in the history of Bloke, and it was our biggest ever sale. So make sure to be there, 6 p.m. next Thursday, 50% off absolutely everything. We do not do these often. As I said, only once in the history of Bloke. We're not going to do another one for a very long time. So be there next Thursday, the 16th, 6 p.m. Guru, how's your weekend, mate?
It's good, mate. Footy done and dusted.
It's almost you're okay with letting it go because it's been a long year, but at the same time you realise in a couple of weeks' time you're going to be like, you know what? I took what I had for granted, and maybe the grass isn't greener.
It's a hollow feeling, isn't it?
It is. It is. Timmy, do you have a hollow feeling, or are you just going to do another sport like AFL?
It was a mixed weekend, mate. Mate, we're in the peak of the spring racing carnival, so I'm all right at the moment. Absolutely deflated from the Kangaroos shellacking on the weekend, but at the same time, we got a glimpse into the New South Wales Blues dynasty that's about to happen off the back of Madge Maguire. So you know what? It was a silver lining kind of moment where, yes, the national pride was hurt a bit, but the blue pride was, geez, we're in a good place going forward.
Oh my God! If that wasn't the most New South Welshman thing said in the history of rugby league, I don't know. Hammy, how you going, brother?
Very well, very well. Big weekend for me. Went down to the Budgie Smuggler Ordinary Rig Comp.
Yeah.
Tremendous event. One of the great days on the sporting calendar. Fiji fans will have been a bit disappointed losing the Cup final yesterday, but they actually won the world's most ordinary rig, so something to celebrate there.
That's a win.
For Fiji.
That's a win.
Very
They're the
exciting.
people's champ. Fiji are the people's champ.
They are the people's champ. They're the people's champ. I know you guys had a chat with Klutzy on Friday. He was in the mix, but probably blew it at the special skills component. He went pretty bold. He tried to play Sandstorm by Darude on a recorder.
Yeah.
The acoustics weren't great at the Ivy Pool Bar.
I said that to him on the thingo. I said, mate, how are they going to hear you?
So he had to divert to plan B. At least he had a plan B.
Yeah.
He went for 3 or 4 belly flops into the pool, which was pretty good, but probably not enough to get the chockies on the day. So he wasn't able to get into the top 3 playoff. And but it was a great event, really well done. Saw some stuff I've never seen before. Saw a Frenchman play the guitar with his todger, which was pretty full on. No snap banjos, thankfully, but that was pretty impressive. Shout out to puppetry of the penis. Cancel culture, obviously not
Like, bring it back. Like, seriously.
I think so, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
if cancel culture's gone too far, if you can't puppet your penis.
Yeah, where does it stop?
Where
Really?
does it stop? We'll be in bloody Soviet Russia soon.
Exactly. That's not where I want to be. But look, the moral of the story, great event, well done to Fiji, and that was my weekend in a nutshell.
Okay, no pun intended.
Pun very much intended.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's get straight into it. Before we do, make sure to grab a case of Bloke beer from your local. It is the beer of Australian sport. Got plenty of messages over the weekend, actually. People trying the Midi, absolutely loving it. It's a beautiful beer, guys. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. I promise you will not be disappointed. Plus, it supports the platform. So grab a case of Bloke beer, but let's get into it. Face the music. We're on again. Hammy, we need to face the music because I think it's blaring loud, it's blaring true and strong, and I think this might be a character building episode for all of us.
It is. That's what we're here for today, a bit of character building. The music is playing loud and hard right into your faces today, particularly when it comes to footy. I think for the first time in the history of the segment, not a single point was scored by anyone on the panel for the rugby league game that was played over the weekend.
Oh my, geez.
One of those real where were you when moments.
It's embarrassing stuff.
It is embarrassing
like
stuff.
We're literally the biggest sports podcast, specifically a rugby league, and not a single one of us got a point. That's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful, yeah. Keep watching though, keep listening. Stay with us.
To be fair, the Kangaroos didn't get a point either, so we're in together.
Well, yeah, we're in the vibe of being Australian, being Aussie.
Well, just on that, I think let's have a quick look at for Australia to be held to nil on the weekend was paying $126 to be held to nil.
Wow.
So congrats if you got on.
Yeah.
And I think New Zealand to win 13 plus was paying $15 as well.
Ooh.
So
I mean, they were $4 heading into it head to head.
yeah, yep. So yeah, there you go. A little bit of value on hand there for the Kiwi punters. But yeah, we were terrible. Everyone backed Australia. We all had an Aussie try scorer. None of that happened. So we've got to go into the cricket to find our points today.
Oh, I'll be strong here, that's for sure.
Wow, Mr. Cricket, we'll get to you in a minute. Australia beat World Cup minnows England, so everyone got a point there, which is good.
13 plus?
Or did they? Or did everyone get a point? Is
uh-oh.
what I'm going to say there.
Oh, no.
All right, let's get into it. So the first one, we had Mr. Cricket. You're up first, Denon. You lived up to your nickname. You started. I'll start with what you missed out on, which was Cummins top wicket taker. You missed that. You had Marnus to be the top Australian run scorer. Done well to hold on to his spot, I thought, but 70 runs. Tick for you there. You had Australia 13 plus again. They won by 33. So I've given you an extra point this week for that.
Thank you.
To the bowler team. That gives you a total of 3. So not bad.
I knew Marnus. I knew he was going to come good.
Yep.
A lot of people were questioning his position in the roster.
Yep.
But I had been watching and seeing things that a lot of people didn't know. That's why I knew he'd be in the roster, because he'd
Yeah,
what he did.
When Mr. Cricket talks, Cricket Australia listens clearly. They kept him in the team, and there you go. You got yourself an extra point. Guru, you had Warner top runs, wrong, but you had Zampa top wicket taker, tick. That gives you a total of 2. Thailand Timmy, you had exactly the same as Guru. Now, I feel like I'm actually staring at a real-life example of the Mr. Bean copying the homework meme over here. And I'm just going to beg for a little bit of variety this week from you two. Can you
It's
not copy?
Timmy the Tin Hut. That's what he does.
I'm going to jump in there, mate. So Guru, who's gone Zampa 2 weeks in a row.
And
the
we'll
week
go
that I
three.
went to Thailand, I actually went Zampa and he followed me into him the week after. So I got in early.
Set the tone. Well, I'll let you boys settle it.
Controversy.
Yeah.
Bit of
I'll
controversy
let you
there.
sort it out
I
yourself.
scouted Zampa as a 14-year-old.
Just wanted to bear in mind when you're putting your tips in today. So you both got 2. Myself, I had the Aussies head-to-head. Starkey top wickets wrong. Travis top runs wrong for a grand total of 1 for me this week.
So cricket got me across the line.
Well, I did, but that brings us to Matty. We're not done yet.
He's a bullshit tipper.
Matty had the Aussies. So tick for now. Then he locked in Captain Cummins to step up and score some runs for the Aussies. Check the tape. Check the tape. Then he went on to nominate Steve Smith to be the top Australian run scorer. So he's actually failed to lock in a wicket taker. So for that reason, I've taken the extreme but necessary action to actually deduct a point off Matty this week, which gives Matty a grand total of 0. So
0 points.
it's pretty simple, folks. Just listen to the instructions, and you won't get burned too badly. So Matty,
No, you know
0
what?
for you.
I am gonna break protocol here, and that's disgraceful, Matty. And I think he should dance today for that. I think you need to come up here, Matty, and dance. I just do.
I'm all for it.
It's hard to argue
There we
with.
If you
go.
get a
Play
duck
some
head,
music.
you've got to be punished.
Absolutely.
Any-
Come on, Matty.
Any requests?
Play some music brought to you by Sportsbet. Any request?
I can hear Matty's heart going about 4,000 beats per minute at the moment.
Yeah.
Could we just do something funny? Because this is going to burn him. Maybe Usher burn.
Dear oh dear.
Oh my God,
I
that was.
almost want to deduct another point for that
Yeah,
dancing.
that was as bad as his tipping. No, that's fair play. Well done,
Well done,
Matty.
Matty.
He
Well
stepped up to the plate. Come on, boys, give him
Yeah,
a clap.
yeah,
Give him a
carry
clap.
on.
He stepped
Well
up
done,
to the
Matty.
plate.
He also danced to a KFC ad.
It was meant to be the Sydney Roosters theme song. I thought this is going to be brilliant. And then the ad popped up before it, so I've got no idea who it was.
And also, I said Usher burn as well.
Yeah.
So it's all right. Look, it's a fucking disaster by all fronts.
We'll take this one offline, boys.
Yeah. And we are channeling our inner Australia today because we've had a fucking Barry Crocker.
Yeah, we have.
We've had a Barry Crocker.
So, look, that's Face the Music today. That's the results for last week. This week, I want to see your tips for the cricket. We've got Afghanistan tomorrow night. The Aussies are playing Afghanistan. I want your top run scorer, top wicket taker. Do you feel comfortable giving me a top Afghanistan wicket taker to make it a little bit, just so we've got another point to...
I was going to go an Afghani over the Aussie, to be honest.
Oh, that's fine. Let's just go with that. You can go whatever nationality you want. So that's all good. And then I also want to get your Melbourne Cup winner as well for the big one tomorrow.
What are some of the favourites for Melbourne Cup and what are they paying?
I'll get the market up. Well, I think you're probably going to go with your man.
Gold Trip's my boy.
Gold Trip without a
Voban
fight.
fave, without a fight, second fave.
Yep. Vow and Declare won it a couple of years ago as well. So I'll get your tip for that in a minute. But we'll start with the cricket.
Okay.
All right. So who have you got, Mr. Cricket? We'll start with you. You got the new ball again. Top run scorer, top wicket taker, and do you like the Aussies or Afghanistan in a boil?
Yeah, look, I was initially going to pick an Afghanistani batter and bowler.
Yep.
But,
You don't have to. Don't feel obliged.
Yeah,
to.
no, I didn't want to confuse the audience because they don't know cricket as well as I do, so
Yep.
they may not know those
That's
players.
fair.
I'm going to go Travis Head,
Yep.
and then I'm going to go Zampa for most wickets taken.
Oh, there you go. Okay. You're
Yeah, look,
getting
I've been watching really closely over the last few weeks.
Yep.
And he's shown some signs
He
of
has.
a bit of decent cricket in him, and I
Yep.
think this is the week he's going to actually stand up and do something.
Well, he's actually been our top wicket taker
Well,
by
that's
the way
the
through.
joke. That's the joke.
Guru, what do you got?
Hammy, I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty rattled. I came in here thinking Zampa and Gold Trip, and after the accusations of copying,
Yeah.
I'm really on the back foot. But I'm going to go.
If you get in first, you're not copying, eh?
I'm going to go Dave Warner.
Yep.
Top run scorer, and I won't go Zampa because Kempy's taken him. I will go Paddy Cummins.
Yep.
That's stealing my homework from last week, just saying.
It is. Noted.
Who's your top run scorer?
Head.
Head. All right. Steve Smith and Rashid Khan
Yeah, nice.
and Australia to win.
So, yep.
Oh, yeah, straight to win 13 plus.
Yep.
I might.
13 plus, yeah.
Yeah, I can do it 14 plus. So
14 plus. All right. Noted.
All right, I've got to be careful this week to not misspeak. I'll go Australia to win.
Yep.
David Warner, most runs.
Yep. Thanks for clarifying. Yep.
Mitchell Starc, most wickets.
Beautiful. All right. Locked in. I'm going Aussies to win. Head top runs. Starkey top wickets for me.
Yeah, and I'm just confirming, because I don't think I was clear enough, Australia to win. I don't know if I said that.
No, that's fine.
Just want to make sure I get it right, you know?
I've got that in there. And also for this game, can I just say as well, Hammy's wicket taker bingo will be back for this game. Now,
Oh, it's back.
It's on. You can't miss at the moment. Three of the last four, it has missed one. You win some, you lose more. But what you're looking for here is there's 4 names that I've chosen. You need at least 3 to take 2 or more wickets, which has happened, 3 of the last 4 games. The names are Zampa, Stark, Rashid Khan, and one of your favourites, Kempy, Mujib. He's in there as well.
Mujib, mate. Love Mujib. Love what he's bringing to the
What do
table
you
at the
like?
moment.
What do you like about Mujib?
Mate, his concentration in big moments,
Yep.
it's almost second to none.
It is.
Almost, arguably.
And you know what? That's why I've put him in.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
love
put
to
him
see. You know what? We've been talking. Okay, I get it. And so your bingo, has it been going off or what? People been loving it?
They've been getting around it.
Get
Absolutely.
around it. So you go to the main page, Hammy's bingo, and 3 of the last 4 have come on.
They have.
There you go.
Yeah, gamble responsibly, but we go again tomorrow.
We go again.
All right, now Melbourne Cup winner. So I want to get a Melbourne Cup tip. I reckon maybe to make this one work, because there's a lot of horses in the race, maybe whatever you lock in, we're going to put it in each way, just so that we've got an extra point there to kind of adjudicate on for next week. Do you need a bit more time, Mr. Cricket? We can go the other way.
Mr. Racing, you can call me
Mr.
that.
Racing, sorry. Where's my manager?
Without a fight.
You going without a fight?
Yeah, mate. I've been watching a lot of his form lately, and all her form. Look, I think it's gender fluid actually. Yeah, gender fluid. Their form has been incredible, mate. Huge run, huge race for them.
Yep, beautiful.
Mate, I was going to go Gold Trip back to back. But I think T-Rex over here will get a little bit upset if I do.
you're welcome to follow me, mate.
No, it's all right. It's all good. I'll take the lead. I will go the 7. Is it absurd? Zachy Purton.
Absurd. $12, $3.80 the place.
Thanks
Bit
for
of
coming.
value there for you, Guru.
Thank you.
Yep. Could it be anything? Absurd.
Could be anything, potentially.
All right.
Take the favourite, you coward. Let's go.
It's not even the favourite, mate.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So I'm
Favourite
Gold Trip to go back to back. It's out to about $7 or $8 now. So you get a nice little price there. It's
Back into $6.50 after you've just said that.
back into
actually. Timmy, well done.
the trade just referred me as soon as they heard me speak.
Yes.
Mate, Turnbull run a few starts back, unreal, perfect prep. Kilo up on last year, going better than last year in my opinion. Drawn 2, J-Mac on board. How far?
Yep.
And I'll throw in, mate, a little roughie while we're at it. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but the Price and Kent thing, Lastochka at about 20 to 1 as well. We'll get the Quinella there.
Okay. Wow. Noted down.
Loves dancing.
I'm not too big on horse racing, but on the Sportsbet app, it says that future history, it says it has a little thing that says proven winner next to it. And so I'm going to go, what am I going? Future history.
Go and
Yeah.
prove it.
A
I'm going
couple-
proven winner.
A couple of them have got the proven winner thing next to it, but yep. I'm going to go Solcombe because I was going to go without a fight, but you beat me to it, Mr. Racing. So Solcombe for me. Yeah.
What can I say? I watch many sports, and I'm a genius at a lot of them.
I don't know how you keep up with the news like that. To be honest.
Yeah,
It's
look,
impressive.
Look, you should ask my wife. She's also currently not speaking to me because I watch so much racing and cricket.
I'm thinking of you. It's a difficult time.
That's it. That's Space
That's
to Music.
it.
Brought to you by Sportsbet. Absolute legends. As always, go to Hammy's Bingo. chuck a sneaky fiver on there if you want to. Gamble responsibly. You win some, you lose more. But Hammy's bingo, it's on the main page. You just 3 out of the last 4.
Yep.
How good.
Tailor-made for the Stewie diver, as you said. Tailor-made.
Tailor-made for the Stewie diver.
Yeah, responsibly.
Responsibly, of course. And as always, thanks to the legends over at Sports best partners in the business. Let's get straight into it, shall we? New Zealand defeat Australia 30-0 to win the Pacific Cup. And we witness arguably the greatest ever performance by a New Zealand side, in my opinion. I think that, and this, I say this as respectfully as possible, but even when we've seen Kiwis win either World Cups or Tri-Nations or whatever it is, even when they've played 80 minutes and beaten, one of the best sides on paper in the Australian side, I've watched 80 minutes and I've said they've still got more in them. There's a 10-minute period where they might have made an error or they've, defensively there's been a lapse. This is the first time since I've been watching rugby league where New Zealand has played to as much of their potential as they possibly can. That has always been the knock on the Kiwis is look at the side on paper, they've got a gun side, but they've never fully put it together. And as I said, I would argue even in the games where they've done incredible feats and they've beaten such a strong Kangaroo side, there's still been moments where they've made errors or they haven't played to their potential. In my time watching rugby league, I believe that this was the first time that New Zealand played as good as they could possibly play on paper. And I think it's probably their greatest ever performance as a Kiwi side.
Completely agree. I think it's their most dominant performance I have ever seen. As you said, Kempy, they've won bigger moments, bigger competitions. It doesn't compare to this for me. As far as like an individual performance, this was
domination.
Yeah, this was the best of the best. And, I think like a week can be a long time in rugby league. It's only a week ago the Kangaroos decided, you know what, let's rest Tino. Let's rest Hayne Haas. Let's rest Liam Martin. And, we spoke about it on the show last week that, we sort of thought that, I didn't think it would happen, but it doesn't surprise me in hindsight now looking back at Fish and the Otter going, okay, you're going to rest those guys? Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's go to New Zealand. Let's square it up. And they absolutely bullied them.
Yeah. And I think that the difference between now and back in the day when we got beaten as Aussies, so let's say we got beaten and we've got Darren Lockyer, Thurston, Cam Smith. I think all of us, and maybe it's our Australian bias, went, yeah, we're still the better side though. Like, okay, we lost to whatever. We're still the better side. Honestly, after the weekend, I find it hard to say that we are still the better side. And I think that there's an argument to be made. Like, for example, remember when we weren't ranked the number one side in the world? And everyone was going, like, nudging each other going, yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. I think there's a genuine argument that this is the first time, or not an argument, but for me personally, this is the first time where I go, maybe we aren't the best side in the world. On paper and in practice. Obviously, I'd still back the boys if we played again to win. But right now, when I look on paper and I look across the board and then I compare it to the other, the Kangaroos, I go, they've matched us in all these areas. Whereas I think in the last 20 years before that, we always had the luxury of going, yeah, we got Cam Smith, we got Darren Lockyer, we got Thurston, we got Joey, we got Freddie. I look at it now and I go, we don't have that benefit anymore. We don't have that luxury anymore. And I think we may have taken it for granted during that period. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, it's not often, Campy, that we say that you can watch a Kangaroos game and say that we'd been outclassed, if ever. Out-muscled, yep, sometimes. Out-willed, very rarely, but occasionally it happens. But we were outclassed in this game, and not just outclassed, but emphatically outclassed by the Kiwis, what they threw up. And you look at their forward pack, and we know how dominant it can be, but as you said, it's about putting it together. They absolutely just wipes off the field. You look at the metres of Payne Haas was about 100. Tino Fasuamalawi was about 80. Pat Carrigan ran for about 30 metres. That is remarkable, those stats. To not put a point on in this game. And then they had the polish on top of Jerome Hughes and Dylan Brown, who were outstanding. It was a real tough one to take as an Australian supporter, but I also love watching quality rugby league, and what the Kiwis threw up was sensational.
It was absolutely sensational. And a lot of, there might be some Aussies out there going, oh yeah, we were missing this player, that player. Hey, hang on a sec. The Kiwis were also missing players as well. Tohu Harris, Sean Johnson, Cheese, JMK.
They had about their sixth choice hooker in there.
Yeah, so
it was a halfback.
Yeah, Kieran Foran, who's, so to sit here and say that we were missing, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. That's absolutely nonsense. I genuinely believe it's the first time since I've been watching rugby league, and granted, I don't have the history that a lot of other people have, where I look at the squads on paper and see how they've performed, and I go, are we better than them? Whereas, as I said earlier, we always had the luxury of going, but Cameron Smith's on another level. Yep. Thurston's on another level. Darren Lockyer is on another level.
The thing that stands out for me, sorry, mate.
No.
The thing that stands out with me with this Kiwi side is for the first time in, honestly, maybe ever for me, I looked through this Kiwis 1 to 17, and if you said to me, what does the squad look like in 3 years? The only guy I'm confident wouldn't be there is Kieran Foran.
Yeah.
Simply because of the age he's at.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I think the next oldest would be Fish, and I think he's 27.
Think about how incredible this is. The Kiwis did this without essentially the Dalian Player of the Year. Obviously, KP won it, but SJ was right there. So they went into this is how much depth the Kiwis have. For a country for many years, around the halves was probably their weakish points. I know they've had Stacey and Benji, but weakish. They've got so much depth that they could have the Dally M Player of the Year essentially, not like I say Dally M 7 of the Year, not play, then also former Dally M Hooker of the Year in the Chiefs, not play, then a top 5 hooker in form-wise, JMK, not play, and still do this. It's unheard of. It's unheard of when it comes to the recent history of Kiwi sides.
If you go and have a look at just the 9 position alone, like if you got people to rank, the best hookers in the world, it would probably go Ben Hunt and Grant, whichever order you want. Then you would probably have the 3 Kiwis they're missing.
Yeah.
Kieran Foran obviously wouldn't be on the list. New Brown, respectfully to him, wasn't in the top 3 hookers at Newcastle this year.
We were thinking Phoenix Croston had Kiwi blood in him. He was going to play.
And if he was available, he would have been my starting 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're talking about a guy that literally only started playing hooker halfway through this year.
Yeah, and not to mention Jeremy Marshall-King only started playing hooker 2 years ago as well. It's just, and you look at, Cheese has got to come back in. Marshall-King's got to come back in. 2 guys, again, they aren't old. They've got heaps of years left in the Kiwis jumper. And then next year, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but you got to fit Roger in this side somewhere.
Yeah, mate, it is truly, I think we may be about to enter one of the best eras we've ever seen for the Kiwis. I really do believe that.
The quote after the game, and as I just said, the thing that stands out for me is the age of all these guys and how many years they've got to come. And honestly, the words from Fish Harris were haunting after the game. For the Kiwis, boys, this is our moment. This is our group. New Zealand, stand up because this is our time.
Oof. I love that. Let's talk about Fisher Harris.
I'm glad they waited a year for it to be their time.
yeah, like it was last year.
Give us the World Cup and then you can have it for the next 3 years.
Okay. I'm going to say it, and I'm just going to throw it out there. It's just a question, and I kind of feel that I agree with the question. Is Fisher Harris the greatest ever Kiwi front rower to play the game?
He is starting to push it, without a doubt.
Tell me another Kiwi front rower that has a better resume than Fish.
Yeah, there are guys. He has the best resume. I think that is completely fair. You've obviously got guys like,
Wiki.
Ruben Wiki, Quinton Pongia, like a number of legends, but none of them have the resume that this guy has, and none of them have the resume that he has. Their resume is retired. Finito. Where's Fish on? Hole 10, 11?
Well,
Long way to go.
So he's got 3 premierships in a row.
Yep.
4 grand finals, a record margin win against the Australian side.
Against the Kangaroos, he's played 4 games. He's won 2 of them.
And
doesn't even have a losing record against the Kangaroos.
And on top of all that, it was the first time he captained the team as well. I think there's an argument to be made. Fisher Harris is already in the conversation as the greatest ever New Zealand front rower. I think there's an argument to be made. Do I know for sure that is the case? He's still got years in his... Like, if he goes on next year to struggle, the year after that, obviously that would hamper his case. But I honestly believe, outside looking in, if you had him as one of the top 3 front rowers to ever play in a Kiwi jersey, I think that's a reasonable take to have. And honestly, right now, he's probably... at the very least in the top 3 greatest ever front rowers for the New Zealand, for me personally.
You know what I love about him too? I love watching guys like Payne Haas, Tino, that, they do these unbelievable things we've never seen before. He's an old school front rower.
Yeah.
And he brings the old school into the new way of playing the game. And he's more dominant than any of them.
Like, think about the people that he continually goes up against. Like, we're talking about genetical freaks and generational talents, and he hasn't lost a battle yet. And then the argument is, it always gets thrown at the Penrith players, oh yeah, they're in a good system. They're in a good system. Oh yeah, he goes away for the Kiwis, and then he does what he does. I just think that it's hard to argue against the fact that he isn't one of the greatest Kiwi front rowers of all time. And it's hard to argue against the fact just one of the greatest front rowers, period.
Yeah.
It's very hard to, yes, you could go, Glenn Lazarus, Shane Webke, Petro Sivanasiva, these guys. But when you look at his resume, it's hard to argue against that resume. Now, I would still have probably Webke and Petro as my, and Lazo as my top three. But I don't think it's unreasonable to have Fisher Harris beginning to get into that conversation of greatest front row all time.
And, he's in the most dominant NRL side I've ever seen in my entire life. I think that, like people say, oh, yeah, but the Dragons won 11 in a row, not salary cap, unlimited tackles, wasn't even rugby league.
And
based what we're used to. Like, he is in such a good spot right now, Fish, that, he's at 3 premierships, 4 grand finals. He's now the captain of this Kiwi side that, for me, looks like they could be about to go on a very special run. And you're right, mate. We don't have a Cam Smith, a Slater, a JT to save us. I'm hoping it's Nath, but am I confident? Am I and the other thing with Nath, we all talk all year is that does it at Clubland, does do it at Origin, blah blah blah. I'm starting to wonder, is it Fish?
Yeah.
Is it Fish and Leota? Is that the difference?
It's crazy. It's Fish and Leota. It is absolutely insane the impact that they have. What do you reckon? Is that take reasonable to you, Timmy? As in,
yeah, for sure. And I've spent the last 5 minutes listening to you two chat and just my mind ticking over as soon as you said it. And I said resume-wise, very hard to argue with. He's doing it all. And like Hammy mentioned some odds there before of $126 for Australia to be kept scoreless, $15 for the Kiwis to win the game, I think it was. Imagine what odds you would have given to have Payne Haas at 100 metres, Tino at 90 and Pat Carrigan at 32 metres coming into this game. Yeah. Every single one of them was all probably in half, if not a third of what you'd expect just about from those three. Absolutely incredible. And, his little sparring partner there, Moses Leota, their record now to go the 3 on the trot and now to have the most emphatic victory by a Kiwi side against Australia. Mate, it's hard to argue with.
Well, I would argue Leota and Fisher Harris have already cemented themselves as one of the best front row pairings of all time. I believe that.
Absolutely they have.
It's already done, regardless of what happens after this.
Well, the Penrith thing, they've got this dominant club side and, to go the treble, first time since obviously the early 80s, was phenomenal. But now to go and do it, they were hot favourites for a lot of that time. To now go and do it as enormous underdogs against the Kangaroos, that's we'll do it against anyone.
Yeah. What else is there to say? Yeah. What else do they have to do to prove? Because it's not only because people say, oh, the Penrith Panthers is a stack side. Leota and Fisher Harris have been at the start since they weren't a stack side. So this idea that they just got recruited in and they were already flying high. No. They were a strike side. They weren't even making I think they were outside the finals and then just make the finals. Yeah. So they were not this side. And also in the huge games, the biggest games, so against Australia in the Pacific Cup final, in the grand final, who were 2 of the best blokes on the field? It was both Fisher Harris and Leota. What do you reckon about the Kiwis?
Yeah, well, Fisher Harris, I just reckon, you were saying, Guru, he talked the talk in the week leading up. This is our time. Everything he's done is just made the hair stand up on the back of your arms. That previous game, 2 or 3 jerseys he went through, getting cuts, getting hit in the face, all that sort of stuff. Scary, scary dude. Leading the Harker, first hit up of the game, he bumped Cotter off, nearly threw him into the grandstand. Such a great tone setter, and has just got that team kind of in the palm of his hand now. So next couple of years with him in charge, you say he's making a case already to be the best front row. He's definitely got an opportunity to kind of firm that up and be that guy going on from here.
Imagine the legacy that he could leave for the Kiwis if they go on a run.
And you mentioned what else do him and Leota have to do. The only thing left to do is the World Cup for them. Even last year, I know ifs and buts, and it didn't happen, but they got done in the semi-final by the Kangaroos by 2 points. I know they sort of had to get past Samoa in the final, but they were an inch from getting that World Cup as well, in which case the resume would be complete. Couldn't do any more.
Yeah. It's, mate, it's just incredible. If you had said Fisher Harris will turn into this player 5 years ago, you would have been laughed out of the room. You would have said, hyper-aggressive edge-back rower. I'm not sure if he had moved into the middle yet, but hyper-aggressive edge-back rower that has some games where you go, wow, that's incredible, and then other games where it's yeah, okay. But the bloke that he's turned into now, it's, as I said, you cannot you cannot reasonably say that him and Leota aren't one of the best front row pairings to ever play the game. And you cannot reasonably say, in my opinion, that he's not at the very least one of the greatest Kiwi front rowers of all time. And maybe it's my Aussie bias, not just saying he's one of the greatest front rowers of all time. Maybe it's my Aussie bias of seeing Webke and Petro in Origin that is making me not say that yet. But as a combo, I think they do deserve to be considered one of the greatest combos of all time. I really do.
And, it feels weird. Like, as a rugby league fan, I feel like it just feels wrong to be able to say, these guys are in the same category as Seven Receiver, Webke, because you hold them just at this elite level. But, like, it's not like it's a vibe. The results are on paper.
Yeah.
The results are there. Like, I don't know. Like, mate, I had a post last week about just how I think he's one of the most intimidating guys we've seen. He's moving up that list. And, like, mate, the amount of people like, oh, he's not intimidating. Like, who does he intimidate? I'm just like,
Who? Fisher Harris?
fucking, you have a TV? Like, what is going on here?
Who are the people that follow you?
It's wild. It's
Are they like fucking special forces or some shit? You're followed by 50,000 special forces people that are like, I kill people for a living, so it's fucking not intimidating me.
It's like people are like, oh, geez, it's easy to be intimidating when you can't punch. I'm like, sorry, who remembers Webke and Seven Receiver for fighting?
Oh, my
What are you
God.
fucking talking about?
If anything, didn't Webke get fucking oosted when he played
Got
the
lost
Warriors?
a couple of times, yeah.
So, like,
But
bro.
I understand where people are coming from as far as, and people get so worried, even when we're talking about Nath Cleary and we put him in the same sentence as Joey, people just lose their minds. But I've said it a number of times before, like, when Webke and Seven Receiver were starting to come through and people were starting to talk them up and comparing them to the previous front rows, people would have got upset as well.
yeah.
The game advances, it moves forward.
It's crazy that we're even this hesitant to say it. They've won 3 comps in a row. And they were a part of the greatest grand final comeback. So Cogger comes on, which we all agree it changed the game. Cleary, greatest 20 minutes, as we've seen in a grand final. Guess who else came on with the last fucking 25, 30 minutes to go?
Yep.
Leota and Fisher Harris. Guess when Broncos scored all their tries? When they were off the field mostly.
I'm pretty sure it was every point.
Yeah.
I don't think they conceded a point on the field,
So
those
it's like,
two.
what else do these guys have to do?
Yeah. And the reason why Brisbane's arse fell out the back at the end was because of what they did in the first 20.
Yeah.
When it was tight once again.
I mean, are we forgetting Leota's first run at Paddy in the grand final? Like, granted, he's a bigger body than Paddy, but it's still a big play.
Yeah.
It's still a big play.
And then on top of that, we always say, they won 3 in a row. Like, I think you also need to consider what that does to your body.
Oh, in the front row.
Like, if you get up James Fisher-Harris's his career so far, he's had one season where he's played less than 23 games of football. That's playing in the front row. And, like, over the last, in 2020, he played 23 games. 2021, 24. 2022, 23. 2023, he played 23 games. So he is the front row forward that when every single front row forward comes up against him, they go, this is my chance to show what I can do. This is my chance to add some extra money to my contract. This is my chance to elevate myself to a rep forward. And he just stands and delivers.
Yeah. And what's crazy is he talks shit after it.
He's still talking shit on social media.
And it's like, do something about it.
Do something. Yep.
Like, he's almost begging someone to do something about it. Which
I love Kempy that he has been trolling every post on Instagram for the last 48 hours. Got anything to do with the Kangaroos. Not big, just one word.
Yeah. It's like, as a Kiwi, you're sitting there going, that's our guy. That's our guy. Like, that's folklore. So, like, in 20 years' time, if they go on this run now, they'll be talking about Fisher Harris in comment sections, leaving comments like hectic after, there's a post about a record win over Australia. Like, that's the old school trolling in, like, a new generation that we used to love. Like, those interviews where we see someone go completely off the rails. Back in the day, we were like, how fucking good, old school, he's talking shit. Like, Fisher's doing that shit.
And once again, you go back to the 2020 grand final. James Tama was the starting front row and the captain of the Panthers. He leaves. Like, do you remember James Fisher-Harris saying shit after he lost a grand final?
No.
He just went, no, I'm going to fucking deal with it. I'm going to come back bigger and better.
Mate, I tell you what, I'm filthy that we lost, and it's the way we lost that makes me filthy. But this next time they play each other,
Yeah, it's going to be hectic.
Yeah.
it is going to be absolutely hectic because you've got 2 young bucks in Tino and Haas who are definitely further progressed in their careers than Fish was when he was 23, sitting there going, okay, all right, like, you got that one. I mean, we got a few of them because you won 3 grand finals. But as they get a bit older and they feel their bodies out a bit more, that clash over the next 5 years is going to be special.
Payne Haas coming off, grand final defeat, heartbreak. lost in the final at the weekend, round 1 next year. Look out.
Oh, mate.
Not that bloke needs much more motivation to run
Yeah.
for 200 metres a game, but
I mean, if you needed a recipe to make someone the greatest of all time, it would be Haas's early career, where he's doing everything he can, but he just can't get the results because he's got this team and this front row pairing that just seem to know how to get to him. That's the recipe for building character over the next 10 years.
And, you look at that Panthers side, that's what they faced in 2020.
Yeah.
And had to
they watched
adapt
Cam
off the
Smith
back
do
of it,
that,
yeah.
Mate, it's an incredible performance by the Kiwis. We'll stick with the Kiwis and then we'll talk about Australia. Another bloke we have to talk about. Look, to be honest, we could speak about every single person in this Kiwi side. It was genuinely the most complete performance I've ever seen by a Kiwi side. But let's talk about, and this is going to hurt to talk about Timmy, Charles Nicoll-Klokstad. Think about this kid's journey. So he goes from New Zealand to Canberra. Initially, when he moved over, I'm pretty sure he moved away from his family and kids. I'm not sure if he had kids then, but anyway, away from his family. He may have had kids then, just at a crack. It may have even been a trial and train kind of deal. It wasn't a big deal. It was basically like, go over there. He played wing for the Warriors, so I don't even know if he was a full-out fullback yet. You could probably... Do you remember when he initially came over to the club?
yeah, he'd had a handful of starts for the Warriors and pretty sure he was playing on the wing.
Yeah.
He was on the wing, and they weren't overly impressive either.
Yeah. So he goes to Raiders, works his ass off, becomes one of the most loved players at the club. They get to a grand final. He plays incredible in the grand final, cramps up, last 10 minutes, gets taken off.
Had next to no ball playing ability from what I'd seen coming into that contract as well. And there was chat of him to come in as a wing, as a fullback, question marks.
Yeah. And then makes the grand final heartbreak. And then the next couple of years, it's just slowly falls out of favour. Gets to a point where basically, the Raiders basically said, look, we want to go in a different direction. From the outside looking in, that's what it looked like happened. He was playing New South Wales Cup. By the end of it, we all remember the pictures of him basically nearly in tears. His last game for Canberra. That's how much it meant to him. Goes back to New Zealand, and we were all sitting here going, I think he might be more of a centre. I think Metcalf might play fullback. We weren't even sure if he'd be in the starting 17 at a Warriors side that came 14th or something. So this is where this guy was at in his career. He was at basically a point where he was a fringe first grader that may get a crack again. Now, to be fair, I think all of us were like, I don't understand why the Raiders are letting this guy go. Like, I think he should be the starting fullback. But anyway, goes to the Warriors, has the year he has. Then he gets man of the match in a record win over an Australian side. Think about the journey from drop from first grade, fringy, essentially let go from a club not wanted, to maybe making a Warriors side that fits 14th, all the way to a man-of-the-match performance in the record win over Australia. To top it all off, he did it with a broken rib. He's played 2 games against Australia with a broken rib.
Timmy just mentioned that when he arrived at the Raiders, he had next to no ball playing. Mate, I remember walking away from the 2019 grand final going, fuck, that fullback is a goer. But I don't think he's a fullback.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's got the ball playing ability. And, when Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, when he signed with the Warriors to come back, and my initial reaction was, okay, he has to be the fullback. Chance just doesn't, he's a goer and he provides so much, but you can probably get a lot of that out of centre or wing. Then over the last 6 months, mate, it's like his ball playing has just exploded.
I know. It's crazy, eh?
It's so impressive. And, I think as well, he's one of the most undervalued parts of that Warriors team, that just his timing and his awareness, the way that they use that attack down the right-hand side this year for the Warriors, that slingshot sort of formation, he was never out of position. He never mistimed his run. He didn't put a foot wrong. And he's done the exact same thing on the biggest stage like that. He ran for 277 metres. He was on 100 after 20 minutes.
Mate, he had 101 post-contact metres.
He was on 45 post-contact after 20 minutes. He came out and just went, he exploded. I think I posted a text in our chat going, my God, Chance is getting through so much work here. He just didn't stop for the entire game.
It's funny, I was honestly going to text you back and go, he'll probably cramp by the 60th, 70th minute. He's going too hard.
Yeah. And you have a look at 277 run metres, 101 post-contact, didn't have a line break.
Yeah. Yep.
He's not collecting easy post-contacts.
30 runs. Fuck.
Yeah, you mentioned can be must heard as a Raiders fan, and obviously what he's done at the Warriors and now New Zealand in the last 12 months. it doesn't hurt at all because he's such a beautiful human being, Chance. Like, hands down, you talk to anyone who's played with him, coached him, whatever, they'll say that one of the nicest blokes in the NRL. And just so happy for him for that reason. And Guru, you pretty well nailed everything that I was going to say about him. And I had my notes down from the game, and I was going to talk about his ball playing, his development, especially in the last 12 months. And the key word there was timing. Yeah. He just times his run so well, and I don't know who has been responsible for that, whether it's Webster. I wonder if Sean Johnson has had a big part of that on his inside, if he sort of taught him a few things here and there over the past 12 months. But, you know, he's a great example that for fullbacks coming through that are notoriously better ball-running fullbacks, they're trying to develop their ball playing, you don't have to be Walsh or Ponga and be these freak ball players. You can develop to a level where even if it doesn't come naturally to you, you can get away with it. And he's just won a test final, 30-0 against the Australians. So credit to him. Love the bloke.
And there's been so many examples of fullbacks like that. Like I remember Lachlan Coote, when he debuted at Penrith, he was very similar. Ball playing was a bit iffy. Just worked away on it at the Cowboys. Ended up being a premiership win there. It was an incredible part of that side. And I think there's, you know, we'll talk about it soon, but like I watched what Chance has done over the last 18 months, how his ball playing has developed. Well, once again, we'll talk about it soon, but like James Tedesco probably needs to go down that avenue.
Oh, for sure.
I remember when Val Holmes was at the Sharks and went from wing to fullback, and I was very sceptical, thinking he's so good on the wing. I don't think he's got the ball playing game, and he didn't. But holy moly, he developed his ball playing that year so quickly in such a short space of time. I love Val Holmes at fullback, but he's so versatile that he's made a home at centre for them. But it can be done.
Yeah, it's funny because even Billy Slater, he came into grade with not good ball playing. He was a ball runner. He was a winger, like centre winger. And he worked his ass off and then obviously became the player we all know, like essentially the greatest fullback of all time. What do you think of, who stood out for you, Hammy?
Well, I was going to say, as well as Chance, his other two mates in the bomb disposal squad at the back there, Asako and Mulatalo, for me, I thought they were unreal. And probably particularly Mulatalo.
He was so good.
No one could tackle him.
Yeah.
He was popping up everywhere. And, man, just that big hit as well on stakes. Like, holy heck, is like just about ended him. A bit of a peek into the future of things that come when I take you on in the cage there, Tim.
So we're in the cage now, are we? We're not in the ring.
You demanded it earlier, so you're about to head off to your training camp in America straight after the show today. So
yeah, I am. Yeah. I've got well, now that we're in the cage, I've got Joe Rogan, Dana White all under my wing on the team. So I'm going to come back. I'll just ground and pound you, mate.
But those two, I thought both the wingers were unbelievable and have both had great series. But that first 30 minutes in particular from Mulatalo, like I can't remember seeing a better display from a winger probably all year, and definitely not in a rep game for a long, long time. Like those two guys were out of this world as well.
Yeah, we'll get to Mulatalo and Asako. But I want to talk about a guy that the most unsung hero for the Kiwis in this tournament is Tapine.
Yep.
It's Tapine. He was unstoppable. Like, seriously unstoppable. Because every time he got the ball, his run selection, when he did decide to offload, it was perfect timing. His defence is outstanding. Like, again, because he's down in Canberra, he doesn't get the raps he deserves, but he is in the same tier as all the other boys you talk about. Your Adam Fanua-Blakes, your Payne Hasses, your Fisher Harris. He's in that elite tier of front rowers, and he just proved it once again for the Kiwis at 13. I thought he was absolutely outstanding.
In this game, he had 87 post-contact metres. Tino had 90 metres. Tino. Like, another just genetic freak, and I just think Tapine, and you're right, mate, and I'm sure Timmy will chime in very loudly, but because he's from Canberra, he just gets forgotten sometimes. Yeah. Even in this side, even I did it looking at this side, like I always just focus on the two starting front rowers, and what we constantly talk about, ball playing 13s, blah blah blah. Mate, rugby league, if you can be power forward and dominant, you can get by.
Yeah, absolutely, you can get by. And the thing with Tapine, he's been doing this for about 2.5, 3 years now. Like, very rarely over the last 2 to 3 years do you look at a game and Tapine isn't one of the best forwards on the field. And he was probably the best forward on the field in the record win against Australia.
Well, like there's an argument. I remember a couple of years ago when there was all the conversations about the weird way that Ricky uses him and his minutes, and there was the social media stuff and all that. since then, like, he's been a top 3 most consistent forward, I reckon.
He's been so consistent. Like, you barely see a game where he hasn't, as I said, been literally one of the best players on the field. And yet it just doesn't get spoken about that much. But, Timmy, you can speak more about the great Tapine.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm looking at average play the ball speeds from the game. And the only Australian player for an average play the ball speed under 3 seconds was Pat Carrigan, had 2.89. Essentially every other forward was 3.2 and above, not even close. From the Kiwis, 5 of their 6 starting forwards were all under 3 seconds, which is very, very quick. Papali'i was 3.31, but you look at like Joey Tarpany was 2.91, Leota 2.43. That is lightning. Your boy, Griffin Neem, 2.21.
I didn't realise they tackled him.
Yeah. Taps, you mentioned just his run selection, Kempy, and you see him, he sums up the opposition when he runs very quickly. Catches it at speed, going to the line. I don't know what he's looking at, but you see him do a little bit of a scamper in one direction or another, whether it's in behind the right, but he just manages to find the space every time, whether he's finding a Harry Grant or the smallest bloke in the pack or the space, I don't know, but he just jinks around enough, and his run selection and what he does is it's very unique.
Yeah,
the way
it's
for a
super
front
unique
rower.
because you're never sitting there going, oh, bloody hell, just run it straight, mate. Like, because that's the danger of a guy like Tapine. It's a gift and a curse where if you've got good footwork and you're that big, you have a curse of you use it all the time. Like every single time you're stepping across. And at some point as a fan or even as a player, like, mate, just fucking get forward and we'll go again. But he selects it. Every single time he needs to do that, he'll do it. Every single time he just needs to run hard and straight, he does it. Yet I would love to sit down and ask him, like, why do you, like, when do you choose? What's the catalyst for the run choice? Because as you said, it's not premeditated. He just can feel it and see it as it's kind of all unfolding.
Yeah, what's going through your head when you catch that ball and you're looking up at the opposition coming at you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, and he nails it. Every time you're like, oh, he found the weak point again in the defensive line. Oh, he found the weak point against the defensive line. Whereas you see other forwards that they try to do that and they get dominated. Like they get held up, wrestled back, put on their back, and you're like, mate, that's because you kept skipping across the field. But I thought Tapine was outstanding. I thought he was outstanding last week as well. But
adding 97% tackle efficiency as well.
Mate, he is genuinely like the most. He's got so many weapons to his arsenal. It's crazy. Like he can do pretty much it all. Everything you'd want from a front rower, he can do it.
Yeah. Timmy mentioned there the play the ball speeds, and to be honest with you, that didn't shock me simply because the Kiwis' line speed was unbelievable. We don't have a stat to represent that, but I reckon if you did, it would be a landslide to the Kiwis.
We don't have a stat to represent that. We have a stat to reflect. I love this one. I've mentioned a few times through the finals, and Harry Grant's always a great example of it, but just the dominance of a forward pack. And you look at run metres, the Kiwis ran for about 800 metres more than Australia. Phenomenal. 300 metres more post-contact. But the best one was two of the best running hookers in the game in Hunt and, well, far more Harry Grant. They ran for a combined 12 metres. Harry Grant ran for 3 metres.
Off 2 runs.
And I mean, that's good coaching as well, identifying what he did last week and just tore them apart. And guess who leads that? It is your front rowers in the middle that go line speed. It's just... And guess who does that at Clubland? Penrith. They just get crazy line speed all the time. Another bloke, we kind of already alluded to him, but Mulatalo played unbelievably. If you watch just that game, you're sitting there going, he's the best winger in the comp. He had spiders on him, the bloke.
Yeah.
And he's so deceptive because he looks like kind of tall and skinny, so you kind of go, oh, okay, he's not going to have that much strength in contact. Doesn't look that fast. I mean, he's literally been clocked as the fastest winger in the comp this year. Would you ever, if you had all the wingers in the NRL, would have you picked him as the fastest speed?
No.
And yet he's so deceptive. He's so deceptive.
When he came down for one of your bloke photo shoots, the first time I've ever seen him up close, and he is just limbs.
Yeah,
he is so long everywhere. Like he almost looks like he's an awkward mover. Just see, when I saw him in real life, I couldn't believe the size of him, and I love that he put that big shot on Val. Then he got stuck into Val, and I see people in the comments like he's a dickhead, but I've said it a number of times. The 3 minutes I spent with him, I'm not sure if I've ever met a more polite bloke.
He's the nicest bloke ever. Does so much charity work off the field. Like legend.
Yeah, and then but you put that big shot on, you're going up against the Kangaroos, who are always considered better than you no matter what you do. He just goes, fuck you.
Also, like, oi,
It's great.
bruh, it's Australia versus New Zealand.
Yeah, it should be like
Don't
this.
we want, like, everyone complains about, oh, they're all mates, they all shake hands and that. Let's get some fireworks in there, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what these matches are supposed to be about. It's representing your country. Yeah, I thought Mulatalo was outstanding. Osako, like, greatest turnaround ever in the history of rugby league.
Yeah. Yep.
Can I give you some numbers on Osako?
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. So Osako, this is his 8th year of NRL, right? In his first 7 years, he played 88 games. He scored 27 tries. In 2023, he played 27 games and scored 28 tries.
Holy shit.
He was in a team that was in their first year of existence. They were a bottom 5 team, and then he was playing for the Kiwis against the Kangaroos.
Mate, that is wild stuff.
It's insane. If you go through his last 8 games, the Dolphins won 1. He scored 9 tries.
It honestly
He
is
scored
up
a
there.
hat-trick against Newcastle and lost.
It is honestly up there as one of the greatest turnarounds in rugby league history.
Easily. And, is he playing out of position?
Mate, he is
Under
just-
Wayne Bennett, he might be. I don't know.
He seriously might be because he couldn't get a club pretty much. Like there weren't clubs out there going, yeah, we'll get him even as on a minimum. Now he's come out and again been a big part of a record win over Australia, but also wins Dally M Winger of the Year.
I would love to know how many Dally M Wingers of the Year have had 5 different centres inside them throughout that season.
It's actually insane.
Branko, Tafare, Jennings, Ewan Aitken, and I think Hamiso was there for a period of time too. Not to mention his halfback on that edge was an NRL debutant, Isaiah Katoa.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of different halves as well and nines.
Yep.
It is one of the
And
great
fullbacks.
I think Colin Best had a few different centres in 07. when he did it for the Raiders. Might have been 6 combinations, actually.
And also, he's had to overcome personal battles as well. Obviously,
Yep.
he's private. His personal. His father obviously passed away a couple of years ago. Like, it's an incredible story, Jamal Osako. Incredible story.
Not to mention, I think he's my favourite goal kicker to watch in the NRL.
Oh my god,
Holy
so
moly.
silky.
Yeah.
He makes it look so easy and effortless.
How well does he time a football?
Oh,
He
mate.
just touches it and it goes 50 metres.
And just his ability to measure the in swing, like mate, he's it's crazy to think he's still in like 26, 27 years old. Like he's got plenty of time left in him to I guess fulfill his potential as a player. But it is one of the great turnarounds in rugby league. I mean Timoko, great. Manu, great. There wasn't really anyone that played poorly. I do think Timoko has really announced himself on the stage. I think people are going, oh shit, this little nuggety bloke is actually bloody good at rugby league. Again, he's got the Raiders curse. He's down there, but he's been playing really well for the Raiders for a while. But now you go, before it was kind of like, I don't think anyone would sit here and go, oh, he's in the top tier of centres. And I do believe he's still got to play a bit more footy to get in that top tier. But I think this is the first time where you sit there and go, he definitely can be in the top tier if he wants to be. We could be witnessing the birth of that next generation centre.
And I think people need to keep in mind, he's only played NRL at right centre. He's playing left centre in this. Wild.
It's really, really exciting for the Raiders and for him personally. So how old is he? Like 22, 23?
Yeah, something like that. He's
Not
young.
old. Not old. And he's been really, really good. But let's talk about the halves. Last week we had an issue with the halves basically not taking the game by the scruff of the neck when needed. Hughes and Brown were absolutely electric. To be honest, as we've all spoken about, we've been out-muscled. We've had games where we've just lost as Australia. But I don't think I've ever watched a game where I've gone, if you took the names away, those New Zealand halves are substantially better than our halves. Now, obviously, we all agree that the career-wise, DCE and Munster are better. But as I said, if you took the names away and you said, who's the classy halves that play Origin, that are in grand finals, that do all this kind of stuff, you would say it was the Kiwi halves. Brown and Hughes were absolutely electric.
The stats probably lean towards Hughes, potentially, but my God, I thought Dylan Brown was just unbelievable. He is the ceiling that he has got is just wild.
It's whatever he wants.
It's literally whatever he wants in whatever position he wants to play.
Yeah. Like, he could be a world-class fullback, winger, centre, maybe even 13. Like, he is an athlete through and through. But he's also, usually when you get an athlete, you don't get a footy player. But he's both.
Yeah.
He's both. So if he's willing to work hard and, keep his head on straight and, learn from his mistakes, he'll literally be whatever he wants.
And imagine, from what we know of, Madge Maguire, how stoked would he have been to have a defender like Dill Brown at 5'8"?
Oh, mate.
That's it. And that's it. All we talk about when we talk about players and assess them is attack. He could be the best defensive half in the game.
Yeah, I reckon he is definitely the best defensive half in the game.
Like 7 days ago, we were sitting here and we were, I think, probably fairly very critical of the halves, and you're going, we know these two individuals have the talent, to win a final for them. But gee, it felt a long way off, and that was clunky. We were talking about, and I mentioned that sort of would love seeing Tohu there just as a link man in the middle and how they're going to overcome this. Credit to Madge Maguire. His game plan worked perfectly. They had these makeshift number 9s, well, makeshift in Kieran Foran, but New Brown, who was effective off the bench, but very simple game plan. Go out there, tackle, and just give good early service to your halves, and they were sublime off the back of it. And it's another great example of when we're critical of backline players in particular, when their forward pack gets dominated. Well, when their forward pack dominates, it allows them to shine. And their forward pack, again, chalk and cheese to last week, how dominant they were in this final. And off the back of it, the Stars shined.
Well, I'm not sure if it was a tactical decision, but what, Brown and Hughes, maybe they have the potential to, but they can't play off slow play the balls. They are front foot footy players, really quick play the balls, ball runners. They're ball running halves. And so I don't know whether Michael Maguire, it seems like when you look at the stats, it seems like Michael Maguire has made a game plan around that and said, boys, super quick play the balls. That's all we need to focus on, because that gave them the space to run the ball.
And it's the same story for both of these guys at Clubland. Like, I look at Jerome Hughes and go, fuck, he probably had one of his quieter years this year in the NRL. The pack wasn't up to it. You look at Parramatta, you can tell by the first 3 hit-ups of their front row forwards if they're going to win today or not.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put it this way. Both halves. Dylan Brown, 16 runs. Jerome Hughes, 19 runs. That's unheard of usually. I mean, that's the modern era of rugby league when it's a quick play the balls. But for a 7 and a 6 to essentially have 35 runs, you don't see that often. That is a specific game plan tailored, to what they need. I'm just trying to look.
But Jerome Hughes had 5 offloads.
Yeah, as you said, Kempy, they are run-first halves, like they're ball-running halves, but their ball playing was sublime.
Yes,
Some
absolutely.
of those passes and the awareness, wingers shooting up and just lofting at the last second, God, their ball playing was good.
That touch that Dill Brown had when Katoni shot on him,
Yeah.
it's one of the touches of the year.
So
For him to sum that up in an instant like that,
Will
unbelievable.
Hopewade-esque.
The great Hopewadi, who retired from...
Yes.
What a career.
What a
yeah.
career. Very underrated, Will. Remember when
Yeah.
he first come on the scene? He was bloody
He rocked.
unbelievable. Yeah, Dill Brown and Jerome Hughes, and I tell you what, get excited, Kiwi fans, because these blokes can be here for the next 5 years.
Isn't it crazy that Sean Johnson can miss a Dally M by a fucking bee's dick, and we're talking about the other Kiwi halves? And how they're it's unbelievable.
Again, it's funny the difference a week makes. A week ago, I was saying, geez, I'd love to see Sean Johnson in this side. And now you go, has Sean Johnson played his last test? Because how has he forced his way back in?
Yeah,
Like, there'll
after
be
that.
campaigns where, he'll be able to slot back in and play some games. But this time next year, how do you go against these two as a starting
And
halves?
if all these hookers are available, has Foles and SJ played their last games?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. A lot of people go, oh, come on, they've had big wins before. I don't think this is like back in the day. We cannot go, oh, yeah, but we got 3 immortals in our side, so it'll be okay. We can't rely on that. When you look at these two squads side by side, you go, they're relatively even. Like, there's not a huge standout there's not a Cameron Smith or a Darren Lockyer or a Thurston or a Joe. You know what I mean? Like, it just isn't. Now, as you said, maybe Cleary can be that guy, but on the rep stage, he hasn't yet.
The other thing I love about this Kiwi side moving forward is that for the first time just about ever, they've got genuine fullbacks that can play fullback. They've got genuine 5'8", they've got genuine halfbacks. They're not, Nigel Vunganar's not playing 5'8".
Yeah.
Thomas Luluai's not playing 7 positions. They have got genuine competition in each and every position that actually play that position. They're not makeshift guys. They had to do it with the 9s because they had an unbelievable amount of injuries. But once they're all fit, they've got so many great options in every position.
Yep. An amazing win by the Kiwis. And it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like any excuses anyone wants to make. Just need to throw them straight out. This was an incredible performance by the Kiwis. An incredible performance by the Kiwis. And I've never been this concerned. I'm not concerned about Australia. Like, I know we'll bounce back. But I've never been more... Going forward, it looks like it's a 50-50 race. Like, whereas before, as I said ad nauseum, but it was always like, yeah, all right, whatever. We're still the best in the world. It's like, are we? Are we? There's a question there. Are we? I honestly... I can't for sure say we are. We only beat them by 2 points in the World Cup. Then obviously this happens, they beat us 30-0. And then you look at the squad, you look at the ages, you look at the positional, against each other. You go, the gap is closed way more than it's ever been, in my opinion.
It's just another great example, and it's been timeless with the Kiwis that they build into campaigns. And this year's a prime example. Relatively ordinary in the lead-up games. Or certainly last week, they get a few games under their belt. The cohesion comes on, bang, peak for a final.
Yep.
I think as well you need to consider that, realistically, who don't the Kangaroos have that they would have picked that's playing for another nation? Compare it to the Kiwis, who have a lot of guys that have gone and played for other nations, which is fantastic for the game, but they've lost a lot of guys through that as well.
Yeah. It's the most. I think this is the most exciting time that I've ever seen for the New Zealand side. I really do. I think they're in such a good spot right now. The depth they've got is amazing. I mean, Will Warbrick didn't even make the side. There's guys that could have been in there that are guns. Incredible win. Massive congratulations to the Kiwis. Massive congratulations, Michael Maguire. Look, it's a small sample size, but we could be seeing the beginnings of one of the great redemption arcs as a coach. And we could also be looking back at that Tigers time going, okay, the common denominator wasn't Michael Maguire. He wasn't the concern, because there were clear tactical decisions that he made in these in the game against Samoa, and obviously this win here. I think he deserves a massive rap. To get the boys up for this kind of win. The coach deserves praise when it obviously struggles, but also he deserves raps when they get it right, and he got it super right.
For sure, and as New South Wales fans, I'm sure Timmy will probably echo, fuck, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think the biggest knock on Madge that I've heard from many people is that sometimes it's just too hectic with him. Maybe short camps like this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 weeks of Origin is where Madge can get you up and ready to go.
This is the perfect thing for New Zealand, for New South Wales, because now, so before we kind of discussing, when Madge got selected, we were like, does he have the aura that a former legend has coming into camp? And we were all like, I don't, if we're being honest, I don't think he does. A win like this gives him that momentum and aura of like, this is a bloody good coach, and if you buy in, great things can happen. Whereas if he had to come in here and even gotten beaten well by Australia, he kind of walks into New South Wales camp with that, can he coach, can he not? When he gets a record win against Australia with a lot of these guys that are going to be playing Origin, New South Wales going, well, if you're smart as a New South Wales player, you go, if we buy in, maybe something special happens here. So it's almost a perfect scenario for Michael Maguire to walk into camp.
And I love to, as we spoke about, his effect on Fisher Harris, Leota, these sort of guys. I love that we're going to get to Origin next year and Madge is going to have Payne Haas.
Yeah. Just that dog in him.
A hurting Payne Haas.
Yeah.
And as you said, round one, he could come out and run 200 metres. Impressive. You want to see him do it. Finals, Origin time.
Yeah.
And it's just great for the Blues.
Payne Haas has done that Finals Origin.
No, but I'm saying now, he's hurting right now.
Oh, yeah.
Now you get to go, if he comes, I know he's going to brain it for the first 10 weeks. And to be honest, I don't care because I know he's that
what
good.
you're saying basically is it's the big moments now.
It's the big moments. And Madge is going to grab him and go, I just came away from this camp with these boys. They're taking the piss out of you on social media. They're fucking laughing at you.
I see what you mean.
This is your opportunity to stand up and go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be great.
And that media hype going into Origin Game 1 next year, and all of a sudden it's not new coach, can Madge do it, what's the and be question marks and everything. There's still going to be these question marks and some bit of negativity in the media, but all of a sudden he's coming off one of the great coaching performances at rep level. There's so much more excitement now, and I think it's going to instill a lot more belief that we can do this and Madge can be the man.
Well, I mean, you can even just feel the vibe from everyone. I mean, you're all New South Welshmen here. You're Dutch, aren't you?
No, you're Dutch.
Oh.
I actually go to Queensland. I'm not New South Wales.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a Queenslander?
Yep.
Where were you born?
Well, Tasmania, actually.
Oh, but you know what? You know
I grew
what?
up in Canberra, and there was a bit of a thing in Canberra when we were growing up there, of the bigger brother thing with New South Wales. So a lot of people do go for New South Wales there, but a lot of people that I went to school with are Queensland fans as well.
Yeah, because they get it. They get
We
it.
do. We grew up, in and around blokes like Tchaikovsky, Mogg, big Queensland legends. So we all grew up with that. So that's why. So I'm a Queenslander. So
Are you fair dinkum? Are you actually a Queenslander?
Yeah, yep.
You wonder why I want to fight him in the undercard.
First Origin game I ever went to was the 06 decider. My old man flew me down. Went to so I started the dynasty basically.
When D-Lock.
Exactly. Freddie Hodgson had a moment he'd probably rather forget at the back there.
Yeah.
You grew up 10 minutes from the New South Wales border
Yep.
and about 10,000 k's from the Queensland border.
Yeah, but you know what? He could look across that border and go, I don't want to be like them. I want to be like those fucking
Exactly.
mad
Yeah, it's not
dogs."
unlike Queensland to grab a New South Wales.
Yeah, it's true.
Shocked me.
It was a bit too close for my liking, 10 minutes away at the border. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Queensland. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I guess even you guys, you're in the game, you're analysing the game, but I guess there is a sense of he can do it. He can do it. Whereas I feel like before, it was, can he do it? Now it's, oh shit, I think if we buy in, fucking, he might be the man we need to get it done. So yeah, I think rolling in with a perfect environment for Michael Maguire in New South Wales, and look, how good to see old school with the new school, like Billy Slater, the new school, Michael Maguire, the old school, oh shit. Is it too early to talk about Origin?
No.
Let's talk about predicted 13 for Origin.
I was just about to say,
Can't be on a flight to catch in 6 hours.
I was going to do our 2030 team too. I'm fully expecting Madge just to pick 17
Dogs.
Yeah. Absolute pricks.
Yeah. Alrighty, before we get into the Australian side of things, make sure to get into your local bottle, grab a case of Bloke beer. Lake Illawarra Hotel. Lager is on tap in the bar, both mini and the lager in the bottle shop. Get in and tell Shay how much you love Bloke on tap. Harrigan's in Cameron Park, having a big Melbourne Cup day. Plenty of hampers with Bloke beer and other gifts to be won. That's Harrigan's in Cameron Park. Maguire's Colmsley, next to Colmsley Hotel. Heaps of stock on hand. Black Nugget Moranbah, small town, huge thirst. That's the Black Nugget Moranbah. Common Ground Cellars, close to University of Queensland. Every Black Sheep bottle shop in Brisbane or around Brisbane. And the Caxton Hotel and Bottle Shop, home of rugby league. Now let's get into it. Australia, man, there's no way to sugarcoat this. I'm sure the boys didn't mean to play like this. I'm sure they didn't intend to play like this. But unfortunately, all 17 of them let the jumper down. It was a, huge fan of all the boys. And as I said, I'm sure they didn't mean to it. And I'm sure there are, 17 or 20 blokes right now that are absolutely stinging with what happened. But extremely disappointing, and unfortunately they've let the jumper down and they've let down the blokes that come before them, because that was very un-Australian. That's not what the Australian jersey that we've been used to watching, and we know that the roster that played on the weekend, we know they're better than that. So really disappointing. And the biggest concern, I don't have an issue with losing to Kiwis. This is a great squad. There's no issue. I guess the concern I have, and I don't know for this to be true, I've got no inside information, but it seemed to me like they didn't prepare well. It seems to me like they didn't take the game as seriously as it probably should have been taken. They didn't play with any intensity, even compared to the week before. They just had no intensity. And it was like, I understand that, it's a long year and everyone's really tired, but it's a long year for the Kiwis too. Really, really disappointing. Really disappointing. Now, I don't think it's panic stations and I don't think heads need to roll or anything like that, but I think that it's disappointing the way everyone performed. I don't think there's a single person that wouldn't be disappointed right now that played. But you have to look at the senior players and say, why did we roll out that kind of performance? That's what's concerning to me, is we've got senior players in that team that if they had have been noticing some things in preparation where boys weren't taken as serious as they should have pulled it up. Really, there's no other words to describe it. Extremely disappointing, and there's no silver lining here. There's no, but this happened. It was a really poor performance, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you sum it up well there, Kempy. And for me, you know, growing up and watching these great Kangaroos sides, getting beat 30-0, it's not an option. It's not possible for that to happen to the Kangaroos. And, you know, with Smithy, Thurston, Slater, like these sort of legends, it just never would happen.
They wouldn't allow it. In camp, in preparation, they'd identify what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's been like that since the jersey was first ever put on. This is, for me, by far and away the lowest point in the Kangaroos' history. And yes, you're right, mate. Beaten by a very good side, and it's not taking anything away from the Kiwis, but just the standard that the Kangaroos have held for so long and what the jersey stands for. This was a disgrace.
They looked tired and lethargic.
And you know, I look at the 0 and that hurts, but if you get beat 6-0 in a grind off,
Yeah.
okay,
Mate, 14-0.
30-0.
Yeah, 14-0. Like, okay, yeah, Kiwis had the best performance ever. 30-0 in an Australian jersey. It's as I said, I know the boys didn't mean to do this, and so there's no, you know, it isn't personally having a go at them as a person, but 30-0 in an Australian jersey, it's like, mate, we have to be better than that.
I'm just trying to get my head around how the turnaround from the week before is such a dominant performance. You spoke about how good they were and just
So intense as well.
The class that kind of, just it was a bit of a grind and they just blew them away at the end. And we kind of spoke about how that difference in class is there. But then this week you turn around and roll out on paper an even better team. And it wasn't exactly like a Coliseum-like atmosphere at Waikato. It was lucky if it was half full. And they just seemed like they were a little bit intimidated, or just the intensity wasn't there at all. I don't know how do you get such a drop-off from the week before when on paper it should have been an even more dominant team?
Yeah. It has to be preparation, surely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, did they do too much fitness? Did they train too hard? Or were they taking the piss, not training that hard at all? Did they think it was one of the, you know, old school tours where you can just go and enjoy? I don't know, but yeah, I think there's going to be some really just absolutely devastated players that are going to want one back.
And sometimes in rugby league, you run out and you get punched in the face, and that happens from time to time. We just kept taking punches.
Yeah, I didn't see any reaction as well.
Nothing at all. Like the boys, like the Kiwi boys came out and their line speed was unbelievable. We just didn't adapt in any way, shape or form.
And we didn't respond with line speed. Like I didn't watch the Australian side in defence. It didn't seem like as a team we were trying to, okay, you want to shoot out of line, hit us? We'll fucking hit you too. I didn't really see that. You know, as we're all massive fans of the boys, but the jersey deserved better than that.
Yeah, and it's hard not to say that the Kangaroos weren't complacent. It was a pretty flawless preparation coming into the final. Not necessarily that we looked flawless, but results-wise, we cruised in pretty easily. And it looked like by the way they came out in that game, they thought they were going to cruise through the final as well. And, you know, it's one of the oldest cliches in the book, but the Kiwis looked like they wanted it a hell of a lot more. And you said by the second they came out, the intensity they had, and they were running harder, they were tackling harder, but the sign of that will to win and wanting it more, to me, was evident in just every time a little thing went against a Kiwi player, he's pushed or something happened, the Kiwi boys were in and they were fired up and they were there and they started little rows and they just wanted blood. And the Australians didn't have that same intensity at any moment of that game.
I honestly, even when we were 20-0 down, I was going, yeah, momentum, we're not going to win the game, but momentum's going to swing and we're going to score 2 or 3 tries. Because the boys are going to look across from each other, get pissed off, and then they're going to start play footy. And then on Monday, what we're going to be talking about, the boys woke up around the 60-minute mark. And look, you get beaten. They blew us off the park early. What shocks me the most is there wasn't a single minute where I was like, okay, the boys are angry now. Like, I was waiting for the boys are angry now. It just didn't happen.
No, I think Hammy made a really good point as well. That like when they ran out and I saw the crowd, I sort of thought, geez, this is going to hurt the Kiwis here. This place should be pumping. This is a final. I thought this is, and the intensity they managed to get themselves to without a full stadium, without all the, it seemed like it was almost silent in there at the start of the game. But the intensity they went with, it blew me away.
Yeah, the only player that comes out of it with greater credentials is Cameron Murray, who we've seriously, like, who we've spoken about in the past. Kempy, you bring it up quite often, like the Origin record with and without him, and injuries that he's had either early on in Origin games or missing games and the record around that, you add this great campaign by the Kangaroos up to this point, and he's laid out. We get done 30-0. I'm not saying Cameron Murray changes this result, but pretty damning.
I tell you what I know for sure is he would have gone out and ripped and teared. You know, he would have been in the middle there trying to fight for quick play of the balls. And, you know, he's such a nice bloke. He's the last person that would ever want attention pointed to him. But if you ever needed more evidence of how good this guy is and how much he brings to a footy side, just look on the weekend. We may not have won. We probably wouldn't have won. I don't think we get held to nil though, and I think that the energy that he brings every match, it would have rubbed off on a few of the boys, and then they would have ticked into gear and maybe got some points. But yeah, as I said, there's no other way to say it. It just was not up to Australian standard. It was honestly, it was bizarre watching it. Like I felt strange watching an Australian jersey, a rugby league Australian jersey, especially when I know how competitive all these boys are. We know how great they all are. We spend the whole year, all we do is talk the boys up. We sit there going, all these boys, we go, incredible, this, that, and the next thing. And I would love to get an insight into what the preparation was like, because I reckon there's something that's gone awry there. Now, is it they trained way too hard? Is it, they didn't train enough? I don't know what it is, but you can't tell me they prepared as well as they possibly could have, and they came out like that. Maybe it was a mental side of things. Were they prepared well enough of, there's an ambush coming, boys. There's an ambush coming. Like, it's almost like they were surprised. It's like, boys, you dominated the Kiwis with the second string, air quotation, Australia. You rest, like, we insulted them by resting people.
Yeah, I don't reckon you'll see many Kangaroos rested in the next few years.
You know what I mean? Like, and so how we couldn't be, you could tell the Kiwis felt insulted that we were resting players. How we weren't going to be aware that there's a battle. Very, very, I'd love to know what the preparation was, because it didn't seem right. Now, in regards to performances, look, we'll start with senior players because they hold the most responsibility. I've got to say, our senior players were really poor, like surprisingly poor. Teddy, he clearly needs a rest or something. He needs some time off, because I thought Teddy was quite, just nowhere near his best. Nowhere near his best. As captain of the country, when we needed someone to just get the boys up, unfortunately it didn't work. I thought DCE was shockingly quiet. Like, it's really surprising. I'd really jumped back on the DCE bandwagon, at the very least for us. For Queensland, he's had a really good record. For Australia, it's a mixed record. But I was fully back on board after watching how, clinical he was in this game. But I was just shocked at, I guess, I've seen a more intense DCE at club than I saw. I didn't see him barking orders, or Munster just has not been his year. Like, he's another guy, he needs a rest. It's been a long 5-6 years, but he needs some time off.
He needs a good rest.
A really good rest.
Go home and have a nap, because again, it's, I've sort of spoken a lot about him over the last few months. I'm keen to get your boys taken. It's not a lack of effort. It never is with Cam Munster.
No, never will be.
He's just not having the impact with ball in hand and missing tackles, like, so out of character for him. It's just been a long 12 months for a lot of these boys, and I think it sort of showed with him a little bit.
And I think with Cam as well, and even Teddy is, like, you look at Teddy, Cam, and even DCE, they've been playing every game for 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
And I think you're just seeing a lot of fatigue. Now, Munster's in a little bit of a different ballpark because he's a bit younger, but they just looked tired, flat, lethargic. But the biggest error for me, so the biggest concern obviously was the intensity. Like, we just had no intensity. But our edge defence was below NRL standard. It was really poor. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand how such quality players can make such poor decisions on the edge when a week ago we were great. We held them on our line for so long. Is that a lack of preparation? Is that not having your head in the game? Our edge defence was shocking, to be honest. Shocking.
Just on something you said there about Cam Munster, and I think it is like a common opinion that he's not in that, older, mature sort of group. Like, Teddy's 30, he's 29, Cam Munster. Like, he's...
Yeah, fair point.
He is getting on in his career. And,
28, it's 27, 28.
Well, so did I. I just had a look at it then, and and he's had a big few years, but like he was in the right place at the right time, which he had to put himself there in Origin 1 when Lindsay Collins jumped up and he scored that try. Outside of that, in a big game, look, I don't think Cam Munster's really had one this year, which is...
Oh, yeah, he was the one that fended for that try for Hamiso.
Oh, fair, game 1. Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, okay. So if you take out that 10-minute period, like finals, the other Origin games...
Yeah, he's been quiet.
He's been, like, strangely quiet for the guy that we know.
Yeah.
Is he still off the beers at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe he needs a slab of Bloke. or Bloke mids. Bloke mids, if he's been responsible, just to loosen up a little bit over the off-season.
Maybe.
Get back into it.
Do we think maybe, and this is very much speculative, but there are a lot of players playing out of position in this team, and particularly on the edges, and we talk about the defence looking quite clunky, quite disjointed. All of these players individually that I'll name here are absolutely fine to play out of position. However, when there's a lot of players playing out of position, has it made it a little bit hard? So Dylan Edwards, I was a little bit critical of him being picked on the wing in the first place just because he has spent basically his entire career at fullback. Hammer at centre, again, he's tremendous there, but by and large, he's playing out of position. Val Holmes, he can play on the wing, but again, he spent his last 12 months to 2 years at centre, essentially. You add in Ruben Cotter, who's a middle who played on the edge. Do we think maybe too much change for these players? Or
yeah, potentially, for sure. I mean, Hamiso missed 2 tackles. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but like, he doesn't miss 2 tackles. Like, even a guy like Hamiso. No, it's a great shout. And, when you had Cam Murray there on the edge, he has played a bit of edge, so he's got a bit of experience. Whereas Ruben Cotter, that only just started in Origin because we needed him there in game 1 after the head knock.
It was a forced change.
Yeah, it was a forced change.
I mean, the way the team selection went, but it was a pretty forced change here as well.
Look, I was very pro Edwards to get a shot on the wing. The first game, I thought he played well, but he made 1 error. So I was like, in by itself, you're like, not a biggie. Second game comes out, makes another error. And I'm like, look, still one of the best ball running players on the field as an outside back. Third game, though, it's like, okay, unfortunately, I just don't think he should be playing rep footy on the wing. Just didn't seem comfortable. The errors that he made in this Pacific Cup or whatever, so uncharacteristic, and maybe that's just because he's not used to playing wing. So I don't think he had a Barry Crocker by any stretch at all, but I think that, you can't say it was unfair to put him on the wing because I'm sure he wanted to wear that jersey. And also I think that, like, out of all the people that you can single out, like, he's definitely, like, there's way more senior players. We're talking about a debutant. Like, he's not the reason why they lost the game. But I do think that going forward, if he is going to come in, it has to be at fullback. I think that on the wing, he just didn't seem comfortable there for some reason. Other guys...
The reason is that when was the last time Dylan Edwards played on the wing?
Exactly.
He's played at fullback for as long as I can remember for Penrith. I don't remember the last time he played.
And this is coming from a guy I thought he would handle the wing. And that's why I'm so surprised because, like, these errors weren't... Like, they were catching the ball and stuff like that. So it's like, at least for the first 2 games, I was like, he does that at fullback. So,
but even like you look at him for the scrum play, I believe it was the try they scored, and he just shoots off his line. Don't get me wrong, there was a little bit going on inside as well, so it was certainly not only his fault, but just a bit of a misread. Jerome Hughes, the classy player, that he goes, thank you, lofts it over the top, bang. Just a bloke playing out of position.
Yeah, for sure. And I was pro it, so we probably got that one wrong. I've got to say, Tony Sagg's defence, some of those reads that he made, it was just like... And he does it sometimes at the Broncos, and you can because it's club, you can brush it under because he's had such a good year. Unfortunately, at rep level, you cannot make those mistakes. I thought those errors, even Valentine Holmes, like, we're talking about one of the best rep players of the last 5 to 10 years. Some of his reads were just like what surprised me about these decisions, they were unnecessary. Like the one that Brown lofted over Holmes' head, if he just stays back, like, okay, yeah, if they go through the hands, it's going to be close, but to just jam in like that and basically give them the try, just very surprising with the edge defence. And I don't know whether that's a case of the system that they were using wasn't the right system, or they just haven't played well enough together. But yeah, really, unfortunately, really poor. Unfortunately,
there was a decision, that, and say it's in hindsight or whatever, but we did have this conversation last week. I thought it was very strange when Cam Murray got ruled out. We brought Nico Hines onto the bench. I know it didn't, decide the game or anything, but like looking back on it now, I'm just like, what was the thinking there?
Well, we spoke about this off air. So I was like, why bring him on at 13 in a game like this? If you're going to bring him on, you bring him on at Thingo. But I agree with you.
To put points on the board.
Yeah, to put points on the
You
board.
got Jake Travojevic in the extended squad. Are we if we decided to go with 3 forwards on our bench at the start of the week, we get to 24 hours before we lose one of those guys. So be it. It is what it is. We go, let's chuck a halfback in.
I wonder, again, purely speculative, was the plan all along Nico to come on and they just didn't want that hype around it for Nico. So, yes, Murray came out and he went in. I wonder, was he always coming in potentially?
Yeah, was he always selected and Cam Murray was always not going to play maybe?
Maybe.
But I agree with you though.
God, I hope not.
Because we all agreed that like having Hines on the bench, it's like, mate, you got so many to choose from. Big boppers against a big bopper, And also, we're not lacking in attacking ability.
I'll tell you the other thing. When we chatted about it last week and you blokes turned me around on the Nico bench thing, what turned me was that we went, all right, Cam Murray can cover the outside backs if there's injuries. When Cam went, we didn't have anyone to cover that. So maybe
that's where
we need coverage in the back line if
But
someone goes
surely,
down.
like, they learnt their lesson from the Queensland, New South Wales situation where we went, no, we don't do that. We go Harry, Benny Hunt, forwards, and we just make it work otherwise.
Well, that's where, I think potentially there was a bit of complacency, a bit of arrogance there. We got our 2 best front rowers coming off a spell.
I thought it was unfair to put him on at 13. They're like, mate, he's just started playing 7.
Again, I know he came on with about 22 to go. He wasn't even the bloke I mentioned with Grant was in the middle, but talking about playing out of position, that's the all-time playing out of position. Nico in at lock.
Defending your line against those big boppers. It had that tough miss, but that miss was just all lack of playing in the middle. He got up in front of the line. He tried to get ahead to put contact onto Neem because guess what? He wasn't confident in the contact because he's not there all the time. And then he got stepped because he come up the line too much. Whereas if he'd played there a bit, he would know just to keep our line. Look, if I get beaten in the contact, the boys will be here because I've kept my line.
And I think in his limited time, maybe last week as well, when New Brown scored his try, was it Nico not getting off the line well or the contact wasn't great in the middle again? So it's, again, nothing we were speaking about off air, but Nico's so new to this defending in the line role. Spent a lot of time at fullback, but I do think he was probably flattered a little bit at the Sharks in that Moylan on the other edge, had such defensive liabilities. Not just Moylan, there was Wilton and a few others there. That whole edge struggled, so attacks would all go at that Moylan edge. Nico's got some genuine, as we've seen, defensive issues in his game, but the other edge at the Sharks was worse. So it sort of softened the blow, but he does have a bit of a way to go in his defence.
I think that I liked Nico getting a shot, and I think he killed it. I actually think they looked better in attack with him on the field in both games, in attack. And so that's why I'm like, if you're going to bring him on, you've got to make the tough call to take DC or Munster off. I know the media, the headlines or whatever, but you just have to. Because I actually think that, Munster even alluded to it. He said, because they were talking about Munster being sick, and Munster goes, bloody, Hines is so good, if I don't play, he might take my spot. He played so I just think it was unfair on Hines to go, and look, Hines would never say that. He wants to play for Australia. If you're going to put him on, though, put him in his position. And
again, maybe there's that bit of complacency where, Queensland have had so much success over the years with, the future sort of 5'8" or half for their team. They've played him at 14 and they bring him on in the middle. Cherry Evans did it. I think Cooper Cronk did it a little bit. They've done it and they've had success, especially Mal Meninga, who was a bloke behind a lot of that. Yeah. And, maybe he's gone, Nico can do it as well. Like, maybe the Cronk and Chez's, they're exceptions. Damn hard thing to do. You can't just get a halfback and go, mate, go on.
But look at the blokes around him.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
And also, it's easy to choose a 14 as a utility to give him a crack when you've got the best hooker of all time there who's going to play 80 minutes and is going to give you 9 out of 10 for 80 minutes.
And this is actually, this sounds silly because we're talking about a guy that come on with 10 minutes to go. So this isn't actually about Hines. It's more about the decision making of the coach I'm
not that critical of Nico at all in that sense. I think he was, again, thrown to the wolves a little bit.
Yeah, so just to be clear.
Just like Origin.
We're talking just coaching decisions that we don't agree with because that just didn't make sense because they were already 24-0 down and I think they'd missed 40 tackles. Because that's the thing. They missed 50 tackles.
Yeah.
50. These are the best defenders in the... these are guys that hold any team out. Some of the coaching decision, I guess, we all agree that we wouldn't have had Hines there. We would have had a bigger body, but you decided to go with Hines. Even the starting of Ruben Cotter on an edge there, a bit surprised with that because, You've got Flegler. Like, okay, so let's say Murray is not a normal edge back rower. So basically, you're going into this Pacific Cup with one normal back rower. That's also probably not good squad
That was
selection.
the squad from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, they always looked short an edge back rower. And because it's Australia, you sort of thought, all right, we're good enough that maybe we can overcome that. But
Clearly not.
we've just been called out, haven't we?
Called out. And we're talking about guys like Ruben Cotter, Hines, like all these guys, we know how good they are. We're not talking about guys that don't have a dig. Like, these guys are fucking absolute. Yeah, so some of the coaching decisions I don't think have worked that well. Yeah, look, Teddy, I think he's in a bit of a tough spot. Now, maybe he just needs a break. Well, not maybe. He definitely needs a break. But I do think that this is the off-season. He's probably... Now, if he comes back and kills it again, we all know he's a champion. We all know that. But right now, I do think he needs to go away and just tweak his game slightly to fix his age. No, sorry, to suit his age.
Sort your age out,
Sort
mate.
your age out, mate. to suit his age and where he is at physically. Because for so many years, one of the most consistent 5 years you'll ever see in the history of rugby league. Incredible. One of the greatest fullbacks of all time. But he relied heavily on his physicality. And I just wonder if, because of his age, he can no longer rely so much. Like, Teddy used to be a pinball. You couldn't tackle the bloke. And he just doesn't have that same strength anymore. Maybe it's tired, maybe his injury. I do think in the off-season he needs to go away and just tweak his game a little bit to maybe be more of a ball-playing fullback.
It's funny how their careers, the way I'm looking at it now, Teddy, I agree with him. I think he needs to go away and change his game. And, you say Teddy was a pinball. Anthony Minichiello was the same.
Yeah.
Injuries forced him to change his game a little bit. And, I'm constantly talking about James Tedesco like he's 33, 34.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old.
I know.
He might still have 5 years to go. And if he transitions his game from being the pinball to being able to ball play, which I know he can do. I've seen him do it. From a super coach point of view, we always talk about Daniel Tupu, how good he is, because Teddy's always landing that pass to him. We haven't seen it in 2 years, though.
Yeah, it's weird how quickly that ball playing fell off this year, wasn't it? And I think, again, another one that pains me to say, but we may have seen Teddy play his last rep game. I think we've seen him play probably his last Kangaroos game, and that's largely because he's got blokes like Kalen Pong and Reece Walsh knocking the door down.
See, I mean, I'm pretty sure I was on record. I would have gone Reece Walsh or KP.
Yeah, I think we all were from the start of the tournament. So maybe he gets a chance as a Blues fullback, but he's got a lot to do to get that spot again next year in the early stage of next season. And you're right, boys. I'm not putting a line through him as a top-tier fullback in the NRL.
No, me neither.
There's plenty of good years left in him, but when he's got these superstars knocking the door down, you're spot on. He just needs to go back to the drawing board with his ball playing, because his running game's fine. That'll look after itself. But he just needs to go back to square one, get his ball playing sorted. He's got Robbo there. He'll have good people around him. He's smart enough. He will, but, yeah.
Can I ask you, next time the Kangaroos play, I don't think James Tedesco will be there. Do we agree? Mm-hmm. I don't think Ches will be there. That's probably your captain and vice captain, isn't it? Is Cleary the next Kangaroos captain?
Mate,
yeah.
Lock him in. I would have made him captain. This if Cleary was playing, he would have been my captain.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, I would have had Reece Walsh or KP at fullback. Cleary's captain. And I would say, mate, this is your team now. This is the new next generation. We're in a new era. It's a Cleary era. Go.
Cleary captain, Murray / Carrigan VCs.
Yeah, probably Murray, just because he's captain at club. So like the thing is that all these boys, even ones that we said haven't played that well. I mean, none of them really played well. The most surprising is we know how good they are. That's what's the shocking thing. It's almost like we know how great they can be. We know how good they are as players. I mean, they proved it last week. Like last week, their intensity was a totally different level to this week's intensity. So as I said, I don't think it's panic stations. It just the perfect storm. All of them just didn't play well. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a couple of them. It was just essentially the whole team. Our best player was probably Isaiah Yeo, who just got through work. He just got through his work.
Yeah, we were beaten to a pulp, and he still made 41 tackles and missed one.
Missed none.
Missed none, was it?
Yeah, missed none.
God, that's elite.
I will say, I still do believe that you need to either have Murray or Carrigan at 13. going forward. So for New South Wales, I would have Murray at 13. Obviously at the Rabbitohs, I would. So last week we talked about Murray on the edge. I don't think we were clear enough. So what I was saying is that you start him at 13, then you move him out to the edge during the 80 minutes of play, so that he's not in the washing machine the whole time. I don't mean that he should just go to the edge the whole time. I don't think the Rabbitohs can afford it. But I do think Isaiah, although he got through a mountain of work, he's a great defender. I do think that it's probably time now for either Murray or Carrigan to be that 13 in the rep sides.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Like if you got Cleary at 7, I'm sure when the time comes, Isaiah is going to look very appealing again though.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, he's so good that I'm not sitting here going, oh, what a terrible selection at all. It's more just I think that dynamic side of your Carrigan or Murray, it just might be a little bit extra.
But once again, yeah, and I agree with you, but fuck, I reckon there's all likelihood that where, Mal Meninga sits down to pick his Kangaroos team at the end of next season. He goes, well, Cleary and Yo have just won their 4th premiership in a row.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in a different direction, am I?
Oh, for sure. And it, to be clear, would not be a bad decision at all. Like, it's neck and neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even Harry Grant, he had like one of his, he looks tired as. Benny Hunt wasn't anywhere near the Benny Hunt we know.
The Harry Grant, I think he went from his best performance in a rep jersey to probably his worst.
Yeah.
That was, I've never actually seen Harry Grant look that uncomfortable.
It was strange. I just, everything was off of the boys. All of them, they just didn't look right. So I have 100% faith that whatever the next tournament, what is the next tournament?
Same thing next year, probably.
Yep.
I'm backing the boys in a win and win well. As in, not win well as in like by a long margin.
13 plus.
Not saying that yet. But I reckon Australia come back with a vengeance. I reckon it's going to be fucking hell for leather next time they put that jersey on. Because I reckon every single one of these boys are stinging even more than we are. I've got 100% faith these boys will bounce back.
I'm very keen to see what that team looks like. Like, we obviously spoke about guys like Reece Walsh, KP. If everyone's fully fit, Tommy Turbo, Latrell. There's a lot of guys that to come back into the side. There's a lot of guys to put their hand back up. We spoke about James Esco that we feel like he's older. He's only 30. Ben Hunt is 33. Harry Grant probably didn't help his case to be an 80-minute 9 in the game on the weekend. Is Ben Hunt there in a year, do you reckon?
It would just depend on how he goes in the next 12 months. Depend on how he plays, really, how his body's holding up. And then, are you looking at a guy like a Reece Robson, or you're putting KP at 14, Reece at 1, or vice versa, and, you can move him into 9 if Harry Grant gets tired.
Or do you go for that? I think Timmy mentioned it previously off mic. Do you go for that extra 13 that can play 9, Ruben Cotter potentially, first 20 minutes, then bring Harry on maybe? Be interesting to see which direction they go in.
For sure, but bounce back, we all agree?
Yeah.
The boys are going to bounce back.
Yeah, boys bounce back.
Boys bounce back.
Yeah, well.
We're in your corner, boys. We're in your corner.
Just a quick one. Last week we spoke about the Golden Boot and Hamiso probably looking good to get that. After what we saw on the weekend, obviously New Zealand win, they take home the trophy. Anyone from New Zealand leap ahead of him, do you think, for the Golden Boot, or probably still present a good case for it?
No, I reckon you'd have to go someone like either Fish or Tarpane.
Yep.
Yeah, I reckon, and I find this award so hard, how they work out how they give it. I've got no idea, but I reckon Fish coming off 3 premierships, whether they say it's part of the criteria or not, it'll play a role. Yeah. I think that's also without watching the English side too closely against Tonga and who's going well there and whatnot. But yeah, I reckon Fish should be hard to go past. Even Chance could be a sniff.
Could you imagine if Chance won it? Hectic.
There's been weirder ones.
Timmy.
Yeah, I mean, it's only the internationals, isn't it?
I think so.
So they
Honestly,
say.
I don't fucking know.
Ehsan Mars had a few good games at 7 for Cook Island.
Smokey, you reckon?
Smokey, yeah.
Give it to, I said, probably give it to Fisher Harris. He deserves the big mantle, I reckon. And then, you take in the Poms just put Tonga to the sword 3-0, so...
It'll probably be a Pom that gets it because it's 3-0.
So someone could come into the mix there.
Yep.
All right, before we get to the next topic, don't forget to grab a case of Bloke beer, but also don't forget 50% off absolutely everything. Thursday, the 16th, that is next Thursday, not this one coming, next Thursday, 50% off everything, including brand new shirt designs, brand new singlet designs, not the old, even the design of the singlet is different. Really, really cool design, plus brand new jumpers, plus a bunch of other stuff. We've got DMP shirts, we've got Bloke jerseys, 50% off absolutely everything next Thursday, 16th at 6 p.m. Make sure to be there. Once it's gone, it is gone. And you guys know we do not do sales often. We've only ever done one in the history of Bloke.
You're getting 2-minute noodles for dinner, Kempy.
Okay, now let's get into it quickly. PNG defeat Fiji 32-12. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, it honestly feels like 2 weeks. Like, it obviously has been 2 weeks of games between these two, but the way that it's flipped.
Actually, I've got a bone to pick. Did we do the pick for the face of music for PNG? Fiji?
We didn't do it.
Oh, because I did pick PNG, but anyway.
So did I. Filthy.
13 plus.
No, I didn't.
Well, congrats.
It was, we just spoke about how hopefully the Kangaroos bounce back. Geez, you could tell PNG were hurting.
Yeah, I was pretty confident.
I was bullish too
because of what happened last week. Really, really good win. Really, I mean, they're number 9. IPAP.
Yeah.
Very
Get him
talented.
in an NRL squad ASAP.
I know Laybutt, the centre, is obviously with the Cowboys. I'm expecting him to be in their best 17 next year, but geez, his brother, he needs a kick somewhere as well. I know, and I say it after every single PNG game. I think we all say it, but how a club hasn't got him in a 14 jersey, even an 18 jersey. He can play so many positions at such a high click. Very good defender. Just got a good sense for the game. I really like him.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, great turnaround from PNG. Fiji were pretty disappointing. They came out, they completed 65%. And
What about the crowd?
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
atmosphere. I mean, we talked about how poor the atmosphere was the week against Australia and New Zealand. The atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah, I loved, and Maddie would be pretty bullish over there, but with the Bunnies losing Blake Taff next year, Alex Johnston looked good at fullback, like chiming in well, picking his times well. His ball playing was quite solid. He was really good. Support play, we know he's got, but his support play was great as well. Supported Zach Laybutt for when he absolutely scorched his centre. I liked it, and I don't know if he'll be the next in line fullback at the Bunnies next year. If Latrell goes down, they've got Jackie White who could do it as well.
Munro as well.
They've got options, but I thought Johnston was great.
Yeah. Great win from PNG. Again, it's for both sides. The biggest hurdle for them both is consistency. Once they get that consistency, they may be able to topple a top-tier side. They're just got to get consistent.
Pape he played 50 minutes, 102 metres, 7 tackle breaks.
So good.
Opened the scoring, had a try assist. He's a weapon.
On to England versus Tonga. England defeat Tonga 26-4, and they go 3-0 in a sweep. I didn't get to see the game, obviously, because I have a fucking life.
Pick that up.
And I'm not waking up at fucking 1:30 on was it a Friday or a Saturday?
Sunday morning.
On a Sunday morning to watch England versus Tonga. But what I can say from bird's eye view, with the scores and the dominance of the 3-0, England are fucking building very nicely. To beat them 3-0. I think they're building nicely, England, and I'd be really interested to measure themselves against the Kiwis or Australia going forward.
I didn't get up to watch the game, but I watched the highlights, and my God, England scored some good tries.
One of those tries where they kicked it, so they all those passes, then the cross-field kick. It was like a flat, almost a soccer kick.
There was a few crackers in there. If you get an opportunity, go and watch the highlights. Very, very good. Very disappointing from Tonga.
Tonga have been disappointing ever since their run. Really?
Yeah. But even just, I know we're talking about 3 weeks in a row, but just team selection and whatnot, like you've lost the Series 3 blood anyway. I would have got experience into some guys there. And you know what, maybe fair, guys like Will Hopewade playing their last games and whatnot. Sure. But I just thought it was a good opportunity to give more young guys more opportunity.
Because now you're more sure as to what the future is, really, how they're going to go.
No. Well, you know which direction they're going to go in. I would think it's obvious with certain guys, but they've missed out on an opportunity to give them experience. I'm not saying that this series, against England didn't mean as much, but did it mean as much as a World Cup in a couple of years where you want Tonga to really be striving?
Yeah.
Like, that's the opportunity that I would have taken to use this tournament.
No, I agree. I think we're all pretty much on record saying, look, just rip the Band-Aid off. After 2-0 down, just rip the Band-Aid off. You get pumped, whatever.
Pommy's, as you said, Guru, Pommy's played an awesome brand of footy.
Yeah.
Expansive, throwing the ball around from their own end. Just about everything was coming off as well. Elliot Whitehead, I believe, in his last international test.
Massive congratulations.
Bagged a bit of meat, which was great to see. So the Pommies played fantastic on Tonga. Like, the Poms had a good forward pack. It was relatively old forward pack in some regards. The Tongan forward pack, they had no forward, and it was stellar, run over 100 metres. Chloe Matangi was the only forward to go over 80 metres. Like, as you said, after the success they'd had in recent years, you don't want to see them take a back foot from it because they built too much to fall back to where they were 5 or so years ago.
And also, like, with a forward pack with those names in it, at least one of should be running over 100 metres. Like, but yeah, I mean, great signs for England. Great signs for England. Tonga, hopefully they can pull it together because you would hate for them to have that incredible moment and then they just go, you know, they just flatten out and there's no longer that hype anymore.
Yeah. Because like some of the young guys that are in this side, like there is so much ability here if they can just put it all together between Wong, Latu, you know, Junior Tupu we've seen at the Tigers here and there, very talented. So there's a lot of ability there. Just got to put it all together.
Probably halfback looked pretty good.
Yes.
Was it
Harry Smith.
Harry Smith.
Any danger of getting over to the NRL?
Tigers?
Mate, don't have to draw your diagram. Harry Smith, come and join us. He looked great. Had a good series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to my favourite part. Aussies make it 5 in a row on the cricket. They send England packing. Australia defeat England by 33 runs over the weekend, officially knocking them out of the tournament. Australia sitting third with 2 games left against Afghanistan Tuesday. Bangladesh Saturday. Current rankings, it's India, South Australia, Australia. Don't look at the TV, mate. This is off the dome. I'm not reading this off the notes. This is off the dome, mate.
It's been a great charge from South Australia up the rankings.
Did I just say South Australia?
Callum Ferguson in the runs.
Did I say South Australia?
Yeah. Marky Cosgrove dominating at the top there.
I heard South Australia won the Rugby World Cup as well.
Sean Tate took 5 for last night for the Saturdays.
Oh, that's
Dan
great.
Cullen in spin-friendly conditions as well. Cullen Bailey, the list goes on.
Oh, that's the best, South Australia. That's so good. I'm surprised that South Australia fucking cut off from our country and are fucking facing us, dogs.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Second in India. Loving it up there.
Mate, walk us through some cricket, Hammy.
Well, I just wanted to quickly touch on, first and foremost, you touched on England being at the bottom there, anchored to the bottom, just the England to finish bottom market, been very popular over the last couple of weeks, particularly since you've expanded on it on this show a little bit. They're into $7.25 now, so there's still a little bit of value there. They've got a couple of games to play. One that will have a big bearing is against the Netherlands, an old foe of theirs. They've lost to them at a World Cup before. You're getting value in that one head-to-head for the Netherlands. $7.50. They've already won 2 games this World Cup. England have just won the one. I reckon you're getting a nice price there for A, the Netherlands to beat England, and B, England to finish on the bottom, which would be fantastic. And don't forget, if they finish in the bottom 2, which it looks like they will, they actually won't even qualify for the Champions Trophy, which is the other big ICC tournament. So they're not even going to play in that in 2025. So,
Oh my God.
Even if they knock off the Dutch,
yep.
on the net run rate there, they can still finish bottom, or at very least bottom 2.
Well, the Dutch have got him covered in the net run rate department as well. And your namesake there, Logan Van Beek, $4.40 to be the top Dutch wicket taker in that game as well on Wednesday.
It's in our blood, mate. It's in our blood.
Just on the Dutch, they played against Afghanistan the other day. First time in international cricket history, all top 5 batsmen were dismissed, run out. That just reeks of Delhi belly, doesn't it, over there? Absolute carnage in the World Cup. I don't know if you've got any inside mail from Logan, if he said anything about it.
Look, we try to keep those things in-house.
Keep in-house, that's
yeah,
fair.
in-house kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the boys recover well for the game against England. But to our game against the Poms, they threw us in, had us on the ropes a little bit, but your man Marnus, Mr. Cricket, he steadied the ship 70-odd.
It's my boy.
And then we had a bit of adversity. We had Glenn Maxwell fall out of the back of a golf cart. He was out of the game, and Mitch Marsh out with a personal issue. He will be back for the rest of the tournament. But the blokes that stepped in, Green and Marcus Stoinis, 47 and 35. got us a good score on the board. And Zampa, 29 off 19, set them to 286. Then we get into the bowling innings, and what a great way to kick it all off. Johnny Bairstow became Johnny Walker very quickly. The first ball sent packing down the leg side, real average way to get out, which we love to see. And then Joe Root, he was caught behind, but then reviewed it. Right in the spirit of cricket there for Joe. What about Joe's comments as well, saying, man for man, I would much rather have the England lineup than the Australian lineup, even though they're coming last at the moment. I've always thought David Willey opening the bowling in an Ashes Test might be pretty piercing, but each to their own.
That is one of the all-time knobhead comments
It's one
from
of
Joe
the
Root.
all-time worst calls.
Like, even for a pommy cricketer,
Yep.
that, like, as you're sitting last, having just been beaten by Afghanistan,
Yep,
that's right up there.
yep. Horrendous.
Like, talk about being so in your own bubble to say something like that. Like, they're so blinded.
Yep.
And like, I know that we obviously as Aussies get blind about our own stuff, but I would never, if I'm sitting last, I would never say, yeah, man for man, I want better than the team that's currently sitting third.
Yeah. Well, you know, proof's in the pudding once again. England.
I mean, we have two teams in the top three, South Australia and Australia.
Punching well above our weight. Get around us. And then I guess to put the final nail in the coffin was Guru's man. He spotted him as a 14-year-old, Adam Zampa. 3 wickets for 21 runs off his 10 overs. Didn't go for one single boundary in a one-day game. Remarkable behaviour. No wonder Guru just keeps going Control-C, Control-V every week. Wicket-taker for Zams. But the boys are looking good.
Yep.
We're in now to $3.75 to win the whole thing. India, though, very good win overnight. They're
Didn't they towel South Africa up?
South Australia, they smashed them.
So we should beat them then. I mean, we got the whole country.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, look, I still think we are the one team that can give them a shake, but, geez, they're going to take a little bit of beating.
A fair shaking.
A fair shaking. for
Should
sure.
hopefully dodge them in the semis as well now.
We should.
India, which is fantastic. We can meet them in a final, ambush them.
Yep. Just on the spirit of cricket, at Sportsbet, we've had a little skit go live last week. Merv Hughes plays the spirit of cricket. We recreated the Johnny Bairstow run out at local cricket level, and Merv Hughes just basically comes down, tells everyone to grow a pair and stop arguing about it. So, good gear. If you want to jump to Twitter, tag Piers Morgan. We're trying to get him to bite back. That'd be great. But we've got a couple more spirit of cricket skits coming out in the next couple of weeks.
And they obviously just follow Instagram.
Yeah, jump on. Yep, just sportsbet.com.au, all one word.
Give her a follow. Or if you've got Twitter or X, as
If
the
you've got
kids
X,
call it.
head to X.
Head
and
to
tag
X.
Piers Morgan.
What's a it used to be called a tweet. What's an X called?
An X?
I think it's an X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X
Really?
marks the spot. Get on there.
Oh
Tag
my
Piers.
God. Anyway, if you have Twitter, just tag Pierce. Just do it.
Get
do it
on
for the
there.
nation. You're doing a service for the nation.
And tag Johnny as well.
Oh.
That'd be great. Just very quickly, I know we're wrapping up, but a lot of people have been a little bit emotional. Yesterday, we only had one Sheffield Shield game get underway, where the Vicks actually threw Tassie in at the Junction Oval, as I'm sure you will have seen.
Yeah.
Chuck Waken with 148 not out overnight on an absolute road. You don't do that. You don't win the toss at the Junction Oval and throw them in. You just don't. I've said that.
Yeah.
There's a real 05-06 season. You'll know this, Kempy, starting to brew in the air for Tassie.
It's
this year.
huge. It's huge. We haven't seen this for about 20 years.
We haven't. I mean, you look down the list. You've got guys like Hope there in the lower order there, giving me a bit of a Scotty Kremer-Skothen vibe from 05-06.
Oh, I loved. Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
There.
That's a
Frog
crazy
Freeman.
run.
We spoke about him at length last week.
Yeah.
It's just building nicely for Tassie, isn't it? It's building nicely. 2 more Shield games kick off today. We got New South Wales playing WA at the SCG. Now I've got to be here today, of course, for the pod. Wouldn't miss that.
Yeah.
At Sportsbet. Everyone in the Sportsbet family, they come together. We're all at the coalface tomorrow, so I'm in the office tomorrow. But I've taken leave on Wednesday to head down to the SCG to watch a bit of Shield cricket, which I'm looking very forward to. Just to soak it up, some big storylines. Cameron Bancroft, really won't he get in? To the test side. We're looking at who's going to take over after Warner. These are the games you need to be at from a Sheffield Shield.
This is your guru of rugby league kind of stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And if you can't get there, maybe you're heading up to the Gabba to watch Queensland versus the Redbacks, coming straight back from India. Can Matt Renshaw force his way back into the top of the order as well? So there's a lot to take in, a lot to be excited for, and that's all kicking off.
You're bringing Sheffield cricket?
Sheffield Shield.
Shield cricket? You're bringing it back, mate.
Front and centre. I'm putting it back, right back where it belongs.
I mean, you could be there for a historic New South Wales Blues drought breaker. 4 for 86, WA.
Really?
Bancroft 32 not out though.
32 not out. Well,
What's it been, 15 months or something since a win?
15 games since I've had a win, but Bancroft just proving there that, class is permanent.
You're, striking at 50% in the outfield, or in the stands, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
You're there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Josh Philippi skips down the wicket, puts one over long on. You're under it. What's going through your head?
Well, look, I think Josh Philippi, if he wants to do that, that's on him. I'm probably at a Shield game going to try and get behind the bowler's arm. When I'm at the limited overs games, I do try to station myself at long on in the arc when the spinners are bowling. So I'm not going to do that at a Shield game. I want to kind of see where the batters are at more. It's not about me. That's the Marsh Cup and the Big Bash. That's a bit more about me, but I'm just there to see the batters. I think that's where I've got my eye.
You're there for the love of the game.
For the love of the game, exactly.
We'll await the video for the next few days, mate. It's coming.
Well, keep your eye on my socials. There'll be plenty of Shield content there. Don't
So
worry
what?
about that.
You thought there was pressure. You've got the bloke community on your back now, mate, to get that catch.
Jump aboard, team. I got you. Let's go. Let's make it 2 from 3.
Hammy, there was a name that stood out for me there. Chuck Wakeham. I actually went to school with Charlie.
Yeah.
He was a very good footballer too. Very handy.
CBA or what?
He would have been a CBA.
So he's another one you identified early. Guru.
Yeah, very early. Yeah. I'll tell you a story about Wake. I can't remember the exact details. I'm sure the boys from school jumped down my throat. But there was at our high school, there was a record that was held for about 60 or 70 years, like highest runs in an innings or something like that. And one of the boys that was in my group, he actually broke it. And he broke it on like the Saturday. So it was a big thing, right? And then they had a game on the Tuesday and Charlie broke it 3 days after. So before my mate Stapo, shout out to him, even got presented at the assembly, it was broken by Charlie. It was held for 70 years and then Charlie came in and broke it 3 days later and we had our assembly on the Thursday. So Stapo missed out on
That's one of the great
roughest
power
guts.
moves.
Same mate that had Red Cadeau in that Melbourne Cup. One of the unluckiest bastards. of all
It's like
time.
that age-old, I think it's the 4-minute mile, where it couldn't be broken for like 100 years or whatever. Then one person broke
Roger
it. and then it
Bannister.
Broke.
Breaking the seal, eh? Then it just came with a rush. Chuck Wakeham though. I mean, I promised myself I wouldn't cry on today's show, but I think the reason I'm drawn to Chuck Wakeham is because he reminds me of my father, Gary. Left the state of New South Wales seeking more opportunities at Tassie, and look at him go. Junction Oval, 148 not out.
One of the great redheads.
One of the great redheads. Get around him.
Well, there you have it. Get around. What's his name again?
Chuck Wakeham.
Chuck Wakeham. Get around Chuck Wakeham. Get around him.
Yeah.
One of the great redheads.
Hashtag Chuck Wakeham. Let's get it trending on X. Let's go. Tag Piers Morgan.
That is us done and dusted. Don't forget, next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday, 6 p.m, 50% off absolutely everything, including new designs, which we will release soon. You'll get to see them soon. Make sure to give SC Playbook a follow on Instagram. Plus, you've got SC Cricket.
SC Playbook Cricket, mate.
Yep.
Insta, X, Facebook, we got it all.
Got it all. Guru.
Leave me alone for a couple of weeks. Okay. I'm going into hiding.
Leave Guru alone and unfollow Timmy if you are following him currently.
Jesus Christ.
And as usual...
What did I do to hurt you?
Oh, sorry, Matty. I meant to say Matty.
Nah, unfollow Timmy.
Follow Timmy, unfollow Matty.
I'm having 2 weeks off after that stuff. Yeah.
And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.